Chapter 1. The Whisper of Change. The sun crept through the gauzy curtains of the Blake estate, spilling onto the ivory duvet like a quiet reminder that the world was already in motion. Sierra lay still, her arms crossed under her pillow, her breathing shallow with thought. She heard the soft clink of a spoon against ceramic, the sound of Teddy stirring his morning tea. It was always tea, never coffee, gentle, like everything else about him. Teddy stopped what he was doing and asked, "Would you mind if we tried coffee in the morning? I know you like tea, but I was thinking that variety is the spice of life, you know?" Sierra answered, somewhat bored, "No, I don't mind." In the back of her mind, she noted that Teddy was actually changing something. This might be important for later. How often does he change things, she thought. He entered the bedroom a moment later, his presence preceded by the faint scent of bergamot and pressed linen. Teddy Blake was immaculate, even in semi-retirement. He walked slowly, careful not to disturb the air more than necessary, and placed a folded napkin beside her on the nightstand. "I made you toast," he said quietly. "Whole grain, with that honey you like." Sierra turned her head, managing a smile. "Thanks." He leaned down to kiss her cheek, never her lips, not this early. His hand hovered an inch above her hip, but didn't land. "Don't forget your meeting with Dr. Reeve this afternoon," he added. "He seems like a brilliant man. I'm glad you'll be working with him." She nodded, her smile fixed, her stomach tight. As he walked out, she heard the door click shut behind him, with all the finality of a question she still couldn't answer. Teddy paused in the hallway, his hand still resting on the doorknob. He closed his eyes and breathed out slowly. Every time he left that room without crawling back into bed and kissing her until she laughed or gasped or told him to stop, it felt like a small betrayal of himself, of his desire. He wanted her so badly, sometimes it hurt, but she was so young, so graceful, so perfectly breakable. He didn't want to smother her, didn't want to bruise that bright light inside her with his old, eager hands. He loved her more than he'd ever loved anyone, maybe more than he should. And so, he handled her like glass. Those eyes of hers, gray, like weather in transition, stopped him cold every time. How rare they were, how expressive. He could get lost in them, linger there all morning, reading every flicker of thought behind that impossible color. Sometimes he wondered if she knew the power she held just by looking at him. Sometimes he was afraid she did. Sierra stared at the ceiling. Her husband adored her, supported her, never raised his voice. He called her darling and asked her how she slept. He bought her cars that matched her eyes. But he never reached for her like she might disappear. He never grabbed her waist and pulled her hard into a kiss because he couldn't help himself. He never said, "You're coming home with me tonight." She rose slowly, toes curling against the cold floor, and crossed to the mirror. The woman who stared back had a long neck, a slim frame, and the kind of bone structure that turned heads in elevators. Gray eyes, blonde hair that curled when she let it. She looked curated. But beneath that, beneath the marriage and the clothes and the quiet, grateful smile, Sierra Blake felt unfinished. Something dormant had begun to stir, and this summer, before classes even began, it was already whispering, "Don't settle. Not yet." Later that morning, Sierra stood in front of her closet, assessing her options with a mix of strategy and resignation. Business formal. Dr. Reeve was known for being sharp, no nonsense, and a bit traditional. She pulled a slate gray pantsuit from its hanger, paired it with a white silk blouse, and laid a hand on the padded bra tucked in her drawer. She sighed. "I have no tits," she muttered. "I look like a boy." The mirror offered her no kindness. The blouse hung neatly, but flat. She slipped on the jacket and buttoned it. From the neck up, she looked polished. From the collarbone down, she saw absence, of softness, of curve, of contrast. Her 38 chest barely nudged the silk. Her pixie haircut didn't help either. It was sharp, efficient, professional, and completely devoid of sensuality. She wore it because Teddy liked it that way. And she was tall, almost 5'10", 2 inches taller than her husband, a detail that prickled more than she ever admitted. In the hallway, Teddy sat with his tea, staring at the morning paper but not reading it. He thought of her hair, how it framed her face like sunlight around cloud edges. He'd always said she looked stunning with it short, and he meant it. But lately, he wondered, had he ever asked what she wanted? Had he been so afraid of breaking her that he forgot to tell her she could change. He loved her shape, her height, the elegance of her silhouette against light. Every time she walked into a room, he felt the breath in his chest pause. But maybe she didn't know that. Maybe she couldn't see it through the silence. He folded the paper in half and stared down the hallway where she was dressing, trying to work up the nerve to go tell her that he didn't want a flower. He wanted her, fiercely. But lately he was beginning to think she was bored. Not just with the house or the long stretches of empty time between her degree and the upcoming term, but with him. That thought crept in like mold along the corners of his confidence. He worried that his tenderness had become a cage, that the careful way he loved her had somehow dulled the fire in her eyes. And yet, he didn't know how to be anything else. The meeting at the university was held in one of those glass-walled conference rooms designed to look modern, but always a few degrees too cold. Sierra sat next to Jess Caldwell, both of them dressed like this was the start of their research careers, and in a way, it was. Dr. Malcolm Reeve was their supervising professor, a man with tenure, grit, and a reputation for exacting standards. Getting onto one of his research projects wasn't just an honor. It was a launch pad. River Brandt, the other graduate assistant, arrived 5 minutes late with his lanyard twisted and his notebook barely in hand. His hair looked like he'd driven with the windows down. He offered an apologetic grin to the room before sliding into the seat across from Sierra with an energy that was pure chaos. Sierra raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Jess shot her a look and mouthed every time. Dr. Reeve barely looked up. Let's begin. The meeting itself was dense with technical details. Bridge simulations, load distribution models, grant deliverables. Sierra kept precise notes, asked 2 sharp questions, and made sure her data pull was aligned with the benchmarks. Jess followed suit, nodding, cross-referencing, and tapping out timestamps on her tablet. They were polished, prepared, focused. River wasn't. He slouched. He fidgeted. He drew a small diagram that had no bearing on the slide being presented. But when he finally spoke, cutting across a debate about material fatigue thresholds, he offered a suggestion so insightful that even Dr. Reeve paused. "You'll write that up," Reeve said, pointing at him. "Today, I want it formalized and cited." River just nodded, as if it had been obvious. Sierra's eyes lingered on him a second longer than she meant to. He caught her glance and smiled. After the meeting broke, Jess nudged Sierra gently with her elbow. "So," she said under her breath, "you survive your first Reeve roast," Sierra smirked. "Barely. He's intense, but fair. I can see why people want to work with him." Jess leaned against the corridor wall as they waited for the elevator. "He's sharp, brutal with bad data, but he'll go to bat for you if you earn his respect. This is my 2nd year working under him. You're lucky. He doesn't usually take new grads during summer term." "I'm glad he made an exception." Jess tilted her head. "It wasn't an exception. He read your undergrad work, said you had structural instincts. That's not something he says lightly." Sierra blinked. "He said that? To me, yeah. You impressed him." They both turned slightly as River ambled past, phone in hand, headphones already halfway in his ears. He gave them both a lazy 2-finger salute and kept walking. Jess rolled her eyes. "And that is new. You haven't worked with him before." "Nope. First time I've seen him, but I know the type." Jess crossed her arms. "Brilliant, messy, lives off cold pizza and adrenaline, driven by wine, woman, and song, probably forgets deadlines until 10 minutes before they're due, then turns in something brilliant and gets away with it." Sierra didn't answer. Jess turned her head slowly. "Don't fall for that smile. It's how his kind feeds." Sierra laughed, a little too quickly. "I won't." Jess smiled, but her eyes narrowed with curiosity. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. They found a shaded bench outside the engineering building, the concrete still warm beneath them from the morning sun. Jess crossed one leg over the other and leaned back like they'd known each other longer than an hour. "So," Jess said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, "do we talk about research? Or do we do the fun part now?" Sierra smiled. "I'm up for the fun part." Jess grinned. "Good. Girly matters it is. I live alone, no pets, no plants, just me and a bottle of decent wine on the weekends. I dated a mechanical engineer for about 6 months. He ghosted after I told him I wanted to lead my own research project one day. I think he was more attracted to my spreadsheets than me." Sierra laughed, relaxing for the first time that day. Oof. Well, I've been married for 4 years now. No way. You don't even look 22. I am 26 at marriage. He's older. Teddy is 44 right now. Jess whistled softly, eyebrows raised but not judgmental. Okay, wow. Power couple energy. Sierra shrugged. He's kind, gentle, really successful. I love him, but sometimes I feel like I married a safe harbor when I should have maybe explored a few more storms. Jess gave her a look, curious, not pitying. So now you're in the eye of one. Sierra didn't respond right away. Jess let the silence sit for a beat. You're not the first brilliant woman to feel boxed in by comfort, Jess added. You won't be the last. Sierra nodded slowly. He's never done anything wrong. I think that's what makes it so hard. Jess softened. But you're still here, still building something. That counts for more than you think. She tapped her phone screen and checked the time. Oh, heads up. The engineering mixer's next Friday. Department heads parade us around like show ponies while half the grad students try not to get drunk. Sounds forced. It is, but it's unrequired required. You show up, you look sharp, and Jess pointed a finger. You bring your spouse. Everyone does. Sierra blinked. Teddy's not going to love that. Then he should come. Make him jealous. You're the best-looking couple they'll see all night. Sierra laughed again, but her smile faded into something quieter. Jess noticed, but didn't push. You'll be fine, she said, and she said it like she meant it. Sierra drove home with the windows down, letting the wind distract her from the echoes of River's grin and Jess's grounded wisdom. The house was quiet when she entered, too quiet, the kind that always made her feel like a guest in her own home. Teddy was in his study, reading something on his tablet, glasses low on his nose. Hey, she said softly, leaning against the doorway. He looked up, immediately alert. Hey, sweetheart. How did it go? Good. Intense. Dr. Reeve runs a tight ship. She hesitated. There's an engineering mixer next Friday. It's sort of mandatory. Department heads expect you to bring your spouse. Teddy set the tablet down and sat up straighter. I'd love to go, he said without hesitation. Then, after a beat, he added, if you'll let me. That caught her off guard. What do you mean? He offered a small smile. You're building something of your own now. I don't want to intrude on it, but I'd be proud to be there if you want me. Sierra felt something shift in her chest. He studied her face, then said gently, and Sierra, you looked very professional today when you left for your meeting. She blinked. Not because it was unexpected praise, Teddy always complimented her, but because of the way he said it, like he'd seen her, like he'd really seen her. Thank you, she replied, the words a little unsteady. He didn't press further, just smiled and picked up his tablet again. The next day, Sierra dressed with a deliberate edge, still formal, still within the bounds of professionalism, but different. The silk blouse she chose was fitted, with a lower neckline than usual. Her jacket stayed unbuttoned just long enough to let the shape of her collarbones show. She wasn't trying to be provocative. She was trying to be seen. River noticed he was already leaning against the doorframe of the lab when she arrived, coffee in hand, looking every bit like the charming menace Jess had warned her about. He smiled when he saw her. A real smile. Confident, a little too knowing. Morning, Blake, he said, stepping back to let her pass. You look ready to knock over a skyscraper. She raised a brow. That's the goal, right? He grinned, clearly enjoying her sharper tone. Nice to know you've got teeth. Inside, Jess was already setting up the model specs for a load analysis. River wandered over to Sierra's side of the table, just close enough for her to smell the leather and espresso on his jacket. So, he murmured, tell me, what's a girl like you doing in a field like this? Sierra turned to him, eyes cool but not unfriendly. You mean smart, driven, and slightly overdressed? He chuckled. I meant beautiful, but your version's good too. She didn't answer, not directly, but she didn't move away either, and that was the danger. River was slick, polished in all the wrong ways. If she wasn't careful, she'd wake up in his bed one morning, still in yesterday's blouse, wondering how it all got so blurry so fast. She pulled her laptop closer and opened a spreadsheet without another word. River let her go, for now, but his smile stayed a little too long. Jess glanced up from across the room and gave Sierra a look that said exactly what Sierra was already thinking. Be careful. Later that afternoon, River lingered in the lab after Jess had left for a faculty meeting. The room had emptied out except for him and Sierra. She stayed behind to clean up the reference materials, trying not to feel the way his eyes followed her movements, relaxed, amused, assured. "So," he said casually, leaning against the edge of a table, "you and Jess seem pretty tight already." She always this territorial. Sierra smirked, not turning around. "Protective, maybe. It's not a bad thing." River stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough to make the air feel heavier. "Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're on this project. There's a lot of talent around here, but not all of it comes wrapped in a power suit with eyes like thunderstorms." Sierra turned, just slightly, meeting his gaze with a carefully neutral expression. "Do you ever turn it off, or is this just your default setting?" River's grin deepened. "Wouldn't you like to know?" She gave a dry laugh and shook her head. "I don't mix work with whatever that is." "Smart," he said, without missing a beat, "but that hasn't stopped anyone before." He pushed off the table and headed toward the door, then paused. "Some storms are worth chasing, Sierra. You just have to be sure you're not the one getting caught." Then he was gone. She stood in the stillness he left behind, her pulse a little faster than before. The next morning, Sierra dressed differently again, this time choosing a modest, high-necked blouse and a deep navy pencil skirt that hugged her hips but left everything else to the imagination. She removed the pads from her bra, letting the soft fabric hang naturally. No games today, no baiting, just clarity, control. When she entered the lab, River was already there, sprawled in a chair with his feet on another, scrolling through something on his phone. He looked up, and to his credit, didn't leer, didn't comment, but his eyes did pause, took in the outfit, the lack of flourish, the clean lines, then rose to meet hers with something unreadable behind his lazy smile. "Morning, Professor Blake," he said, mock serious. "Morning, River." As she passed him, he stood up, too quickly maybe, and brushed against her arm. Just a graze. But it lingered. A little too close, a little too accidental to be fully innocent. She didn't flinch, didn't stop, just kept walking. River turned and watched her go. "You're dangerous when you dress like that," he said under his breath, not loud enough to be called out, but loud enough to be caught. Sierra didn't turn around, but the corners of her mouth curved. He noticed. And that was the problem. Later that day, while they waited for a printer queue to clear, Jess glanced over her shoulder and asked lightly, "So, what do you think of River?" Sierra didn't answer immediately. She traced her finger along the edge of the desk before replying, "He's complicated." Jess gave a short laugh. "That's generous. I'd call him a walking distraction with just enough genius to get away with it." Sierra shrugged. "He's charming, a little too much, and he knows it." Jess tilted her head. "You're not wrong. But he's not careless." "Not really. I think he watches people more than they realize. It's part of what makes him dangerous." Sierra glanced at her. "Are you warning me again?" "I'm observing," Jess said. "You're smart, Sierra. You know what you're doing. But just so you know, River's not the kind of guy who flirts for fun. He flirts because he wants something, and he usually gets it." Sierra looked away, back toward the printer that still hadn't started. "I know." Jess raised an eyebrow but let it drop. They didn't speak again until the paper finally came out. The engineering mixer arrived on a warm Friday evening, held in the rotunda of the university's civil engineering hall. Glass, steel, and the dull hum of polite ambition. Sierra wore a sleeveless black dress with a structured collar and sharp heels, polished but reserved. She walked in alone, nerves tingling at the idea of introducing Teddy to her academic world. He arrived 10 minutes later. Finding a place to park the Lexus RC 350F Sport was a cast-iron bitch. She spotted him across the room and froze. Teddy had dressed in a tailored navy blazer over a charcoal gray shirt, no tie, with just enough edge to look like he belonged, but not like he was trying. His silver-streaked hair was brushed back, and his posture was relaxed yet commanding. It wasn't just that he looked good, it was that he walked in like he owned the place, and within 5 minutes, half the grad students were orbiting him. Sierra watched, stunned, as Teddy lit up in conversation with a knot of doctoral candidates. He asked smart, surgical questions. He laughed at the right places. He knew how to listen and when to interrupt. It was effortless. For the first time in a long while, she saw him move, not gently but decisively, not carefully, but presently. He should have been a professor. That thought hit her hard. The way students leaned in when he spoke, how even the department chairs smiled like they recognized a fellow architect of success. Teddy Blake wasn't coasting on wealth. He was still the smartest man in the room, and tonight he let it show. When he caught Sierra's eye across the crowd, he didn't wave. He just smiled, like he was proud to be hers. He sauntered over to her and apologized for taking so long to park the car. "I'll have to remember to go get it for you when we are done." "Mr. Blake, finish that story you were telling," a student called. And suddenly, she remembered who she had married. River arrived 15 minutes late. His shirt was half tucked. His jacket looked like it had been forgotten in a car seat. He stepped inside with his usual grin, scanning the crowd, and then he saw Sierra. And Teddy. The grin twitched. He made his way toward her slower than usual, pausing to nod at a few faculty, but the edge in his expression was unmistakable. Teddy had already claimed the space River liked to own, and Sierra wasn't standing alone. Teddy, surrounded now by a small group of eager graduate students, most of them attractive, sharply dressed women, was in full command of the room. He didn't dominate by force, but by gravity. People leaned toward him, laughed easily, asked questions they genuinely wanted answers to. He was magnetic. River watched for a beat too long. Then, sensing the space Teddy had momentarily vacated near Sierra, he slid in smoothly beside her, drink in hand. "Hi, Sierra. Nice to see you here," he said casually, then nodded toward the gathering around Teddy. "Is that your dad over there, surrounded by those hot librarian types?" Sierra turned, slow and cold. Her gray eyes cut sharper than her voice. "He is my husband, dickhead." River blinked, caught off guard, but only for a second. He opened his mouth like he might charm his way out of it, but Sierra was already walking away. And this time, she didn't look back. Jess found her not long after, weaving through the crowd with a glass of club soda in hand and a look that said she knew something. "So," she said under her breath, falling into step beside Sierra. "River opened his mouth again, didn't he?" Sierra didn't answer, but her expression was enough. Jess smirked. "Words already circulating. You shut him down hard. I've got 3 texts and a head nod from the faculty admin who always knows everything." Sierra rolled her eyes. "Of course you do." "You good." "I am now," Sierra said, glancing toward Teddy, who was gesturing animatedly at a small group of eager listeners. River, meanwhile, stood on the periphery. He swirled his drink, watching Sierra move back toward her husband. His expression tightened. "Well," he muttered to himself, straightening his jacket, "let's see what the old man has up his sleeve." He approached Teddy with a practiced smile. "Mr. Blake, isn't it? River Brandt. I've heard a lot about you. Mind if I join the conversation?" Teddy turned, offered a handshake, and smiled with that same composed warmth that had already won over half the room. "Only if you're ready to learn something, Mr. Brandt." River laughed, a little too loudly, and joined the circle. But it was clear, he was no longer the center of anything. Jess, who had been making her rounds with practiced grace, noticed the shift immediately. Curious, she wandered down the corridor of conversation that led to Teddy Blake. She hadn't spoken to him yet, hadn't even seen him up close, but the murmurs were undeniable. People were listening, engaged, impressed. "Mr. Blake, Jess Caldwell," she said, extending a hand with easy confidence. "I work with Sierra under Dr. Reeve." Teddy turned to her with the same open expression that had softened even the most jaded doctoral candidates. "Jess, yes, Sierra speaks highly of you. It's good to put a face to the name." They exchanged pleasantries, and Jess stayed longer than she meant to, because the more she listened, the more she realized Sierra hadn't been exaggerating, or maybe hadn't even fully understood. Teddy didn't just own the room, he brought it to life. Every story had a lesson buried in it. Every smile was earned. Every word carried weight. As she finally stepped away to find Sierra again, Jess felt something rare tug at her. Honest-to-God admiration. Sierra Blake had married that, and for the first time, Jess saw it clearly. Sierra wasn't just lucky in love. She was married to a man who had the power to eclipse even the brightest flame in the room, and still make sure hers stayed lit. A few minutes later, Sierra caught Teddy's eye across the room and gave him a small nod. Without hesitation, he excused himself from the circle and made his way over to her. As he reached her side, he kissed her cheek, not politely, but proudly. Sierra blinked, surprised, then smiled. "I want you to meet the Dean of Engineering, Robert Gordon." She took his hand and guided him toward a tall, distinguished man in a dark suit who had just set down a half-finished glass of wine. Dr. Gordon, Dean of Engineering, I'd like you to meet my husband, Ted Blake. Dr. Gordon turned, grinned, and extended his hand before Sierra could say more. Hello, Ted. Sierra, I've worked with your husband on several projects uptown. Ted's the best. Sierra blinked again. You know each other. Know him? Dr. Gordon chuckled. He's bailed out more than one of my grant applications with better budgeting models than my staff could dream up. How are you, Ted? Having fun with the academia? Teddy smiled easily. You betcha, Dr. Bob. Sierra stood motionless, stunned. It was one thing to watch Teddy light up a room, but this was something else entirely. This was institutional. This was legacy. She suddenly realized how much she didn't know about the man she lived with every day. After a few more minutes of easy conversation, Dr. Gordon excused himself to check on another faculty member. Teddy turned to her and gently asked, Should I go get the car? It's 3 blocks away. Why don't you mingle and I'll go get it? Won't be a sec. Sierra nodded, speechless, still trying to catch up to the moment. Teddy gave her a parting squeeze on the hand and walked away, still very much the man she married, but suddenly a little more mysterious and a whole lot more remarkable. River watched from across the rotunda, the half-empty tumbler in his hand forgotten. Teddy disappeared through the glass doors into the humid night, and the space beside Sierra reopened like a signal. River hesitated only a moment, then made his move. He approached with a quieter energy this time, measured, careful. You always this good at surprises, Sierra? She turned, not startled, not welcoming either. What do you want, River? He swirled his drink. Just curious. Your husband. He's impressive. I didn't realize you were married to that Ted Blake. Neither did I, she said bluntly, then regretted the honesty a second too late. River's smile was subtle now, almost thoughtful. That must make things complicated. She narrowed her eyes. Why? Because you thought I was bored enough to follow you somewhere dumb? He stepped in, not too close, but enough to suggest he wasn't retreating. No, because now I have to figure out what your angle is. You don't dress like someone who's trying to disappear. Her breath caught for a beat, not because he was right, but because she didn't know yet if he was wrong. Careful, River, she said evenly. You're not the smartest guy in the room tonight. River laughed softly, not mocking, respectful. Almost. No, he admitted, but I'm not done watching either. And then he turned and walked away, letting the tension trail behind him like a fuse still burning. Teddy returned just as the crowd had started to thin and the caterers were beginning to clear trays. He walked in with that same easy stride, like he had never once been unsure of his place in the world. Sierra spotted him the moment he crossed the threshold. He smiled when he saw her and said, Your chariot awaits, m'lady. She smiled back and took his arm without hesitation. They walked out together, side by side, a picture of elegance and quiet power. When they reached the car, Teddy opened the passenger door for her with a gentleman's flair. Sierra paused, looking at him, really looking at him, as though seeing something for the very first time. This man, her husband, was a stranger in some ways, but a stranger she liked. A lot. He gently closed the door once she was seated, circled around, and climbed into the driver's seat. A moment later, he put the Lexus in gear. The tires barked just a little as they pulled into traffic, and Teddy laughed under his breath, like a man who had finally remembered he was allowed to enjoy the ride. Sierra leaned back in her seat, her lips curving into a quiet smile. She liked where this was going. Chapter 2. Temptation. Unfolding. The next working day, over breakfast, Teddy folded the newspaper in half and set it aside. Would you like me to take you to school today? I've got a couple of appointments nearby, and I could pick you up afterward. Sierra looked up from her tea, a bit surprised by the offer. Thanks, but I'm good. I'll drive myself. Teddy nodded, as if expecting that, then paused and said something that detonated in her brain like a firework over still water. That white silk blouse and green tartan skirt are calling your name. You said Dr. Reeve and Jess are both at a conference. Dress more comfortably. Sierra blinked. The skirt he was referring to hit mid-thigh, if that, and showed an almost obscene amount of leg. She hadn't worn it since undergrad, and even then only once. She stared at him, her mouth slightly open. Who the hell are you? And what have you done with my husband? Teddy stood, smoothed his jacket, and leaned down to kiss her cheek. I have to go, darling. Have a wonderful day. And just like that, he was gone. Sierra sat in silence, the steam from her tea curling between her fingers as the morning sun broke gently across the kitchen floor. She didn't know what the hell just happened, but she liked it. She sat there for another minute before rising with slow purpose and walking back to her closet. The white silk blouse practically gleamed against the hangers, and the green tartan skirt had somehow made its way forward in the lineup. She hadn't worn it in years, and she shouldn't be wearing it now, not to a lab, not in a professional setting. But Teddy had been right. Reeve and Jess were out, and the place would be quiet. She decided to call his bluff. 20 minutes later, she walked across campus with the breeze catching the hem of that scandalously short skirt and her blouse tucked in just enough to make it clear she wasn't hiding from anyone. Not today. When she entered the lab, the room was nearly empty, except, of course, for River. He looked up from a spreadsheet and went still. His eyes traveled from her exposed legs to her silk blouse and back up to her face. But to his credit, or perhaps his precision, he didn't say anything, not with words, just that slow, unmistakable smirk. Sierra raised an eyebrow as she passed him. Pick your jaw up, River. Wasn't expecting plaid today, he said, but I'm not complaining. She dropped her bag on the workstation and opened her laptop. You're not supposed to be here. He leaned back in his chair. Neither are you, but here we are. She didn't respond. She just smiled, cool and unreadable. He'd look. That's all he'd get. Or at least, that's what she told herself. For several hours, they worked in tandem, River at the whiteboard, Sierra at her screen. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, but it wasn't easy either. River had a way of filling space without saying much, and today he was applying that energy directly to her. Every time she adjusted in her chair, she felt his eyes flick. Every time she stood to retrieve a folder, she felt his attention shift with her movement. And the skirt wasn't helping. It felt shorter now, under the weight of his glances, the heat of his voice. River didn't say anything overt. He didn't have to. Instead, he dropped comments like stones into water, waiting to see what rippled. You and your husband must have interesting dinner conversations, with that age gap. He doesn't mind being the old guy in the room. Sierra didn't look up. He doesn't feel the need to compete with anyone. River grinned. Must be nice, predictable, safe. She snapped her laptop closed and turned toward him. You're circling something. Say it. He leaned one elbow on the edge of the table, relaxed, dangerous. I think you're bored, and I think you know it, and I think you've been wondering what it would feel like to tip over something stable and see what's underneath. Her jaw tightened. You think you know me. I know what it looks like when someone's testing the fence around a perfect little life. She stood and gathered her bag. I'm not a test. No, he said, watching her with quiet intent. But I think you're thinking about failing one. She froze, just a second, then walked out without another word. Behind her, River exhaled slowly and leaned back in his chair, eyes still fixed on the door she'd just passed through. He knew he'd hit a nerve. The hesitation, brief as it was, told him more than words could have. He waited. And when he glanced at the workstation she'd left behind, he noticed it. Her notebook, still sitting there, open to a half-finished set of notes. She'd be back. River leaned forward, elbows on knees, grin fading into something more calculating. There was a seam there, between Sierra's reality and her longing, and he had just found it. He planned to keep pressing. If the perfect marriage was really as stable as she claimed, it could handle a little stress, a little tension, a little temptation. But from what he'd seen, it might not take much at all. 10 minutes later, the door eased open again. Sierra stepped back into the lab, breath held tight in her chest, gaze already scanning for her notebook. River was still seated, but now he looked like he'd been waiting. Forget something, he asked, all calm and lazy danger. She walked straight to the desk, not answering. You walked out pretty fast, he added. Did I hit a little too close to home, or are you just not used to being read so easily? Sierra snatched up her notebook, flipping it closed with a firm snap. You're overestimating your insight, River. He stood slowly, crossing the space between them with deliberate ease. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you walked in here this morning wearing something meant to test your limits, and then ran when someone called your bluff. She glared at him, furious at the burn in her cheeks. Careful, River. You're confusing confidence with cruelty. He tilted his head, and you're confusing boredom with love. Sierra stepped back, the heat rising in her throat. You don't know me. River smiled again, but it was smaller this time, less smug, almost sad. I think I know enough. She turned and left again, faster this time, but not before he caught the way her fingers tightened around the notebook like it was the only solid thing left in the room. He let the door shut behind her, then smiled to himself. She'd be back. Maybe not today, but soon. And when she came back, he'd be ready. He waited 30 minutes, long enough for emotions to cool, long enough for doubt to creep back in. When Sierra returned to grab her charger, she told herself it was just the charger. River looked up with a gentler tone. Sierra, I'm sorry. Come back, please. I didn't want to upset you. Besides, we have to have this report done by tomorrow. Don't leave me hanging, please. She hesitated, then slowly stepped inside. He didn't press at first, but once she sat down, once she was back in that chair next to his, River leaned in slightly and dropped his next hook. Just out of curiosity, why did you wear that outfit today? It's the hottest thing I've seen in a long time. Sierra shot him a look, wary but steady. Actually, Teddy suggested it. River blinked, then grinned. Teddy suggested it? Did he know we'd be alone in the lab today? Yes, he did mention that the doctor and Jess would be out. Why? River's voice dipped, soft and insinuating. He must know. Don't tell me he doesn't know. Know what? Man, this is too easy, River thought. That we'd be alone. That you've been flirty with me since day one. Sierra, come on. I know you see me as more than a student. She stiffened. What? River took a step toward her. Sierra, you don't see the way you look at me. Her pulse roared in her ears. She didn't move, and River didn't blink. He kept the pressure on. Sierra, he said softly, almost gently, you've already crossed a line. You just haven't admitted it yet. You walked in here today looking like that, knowing it was just us. Maybe Teddy even wanted this to happen. She opened her mouth to protest, but River leaned in before she could speak. He was talking to a lot of women his age at that mixer, you know. Faculty wives, department heads, the kind of women who drink Cabernet and remember when laptops weighed 10 pounds. Maybe that's what he's looking for now, something familiar. She shook her head, eyes narrowing. You're lying. River didn't flinch. Am I? Or maybe he knows you've outgrown the pedestal he put you on. Maybe he's nudging you off it on purpose, suggesting outfits, setting you loose. A test, Sierra, and you're failing it. Stop. But her voice was less sharp now, less certain. River closed the final inch between them, voice barely above a whisper. You're not cheating if he already gave you away. Sierra's heart pounded in her chest. She took a shaky step back, her breath catching. River smiled like he'd just cracked a code. I'm here when you're ready to stop pretending, Sierra, and you will be ready, eventually. She turned and left without another word, but this time she wasn't just furious. She was afraid. But she didn't go far. 15 minutes later, Sierra returned, her face composed but pale. Her charger was already in her bag. This wasn't about forgotten tech. River looked up, curious but not smug this time. He knew the difference between a retreat and a return. She stood just inside the doorway, gripping her notebook like a lifeline. What did you see at the mixer? She asked, her voice steady, if slightly brittle. River leaned back in his chair slowly, tapping the edge of the table. What do you mean? You said Teddy was talking to women his age, faculty wives. What did you see exactly? River tilted his head. I saw him holding court, Sierra. Confident, effortless, laughing with a few women. One of them had her hand on his arm. They weren't talking about bridge stress curves. Sierra's throat tightened, but she held her ground. That's not proof of anything. No, River admitted, but it looked comfortable, familiar. Like maybe he's got a whole other world you're not part of. And maybe he's looking for someone who fits that world better. She stared at him, jaw locked. River added softly, sometimes men show off their wives not because they're proud, but because they're done. Sierra shook her head, but she didn't walk away. River smiled faintly. He didn't need to win. He just needed her to wonder. And wonder she did. Sierra folded her arms across her chest, but the pressure did nothing to steady her heartbeat. River stood, slow and deliberate, and approached without the swagger now. just a softness that felt strangely comforting. "Hey," he said, voice low. "I didn't mean to hurt you. You don't deserve to be confused like this. Come here." Sierra didn't move right away, but something in her, maybe the swirl of doubt, maybe the desire to be held by someone, loosened her stance. He stepped in and wrapped his arms around her, warm and sure. For a moment, she didn't resist. She let herself lean in. He held her, and when she didn't pull away, he tilted his head and kissed her. Soft, careful. She didn't kiss back, not fully. But she didn't stop him either. River pulled back just enough to look at her. "You're trembling," he whispered. "You don't have to be alone in this." Sierra swallowed hard, confusion radiating behind her eyes. "You could lock the door," River said gently. "Just for a little privacy. We both know this moment has been coming." She shook her head slightly, lips parted but silent. "You wore that skirt today," he added, voice like velvet, "because some part of you knew I'd see it, and you wanted me to see it. You wanted to be wanted." He stepped back just far enough to gesture to the lab door. "Just turn the lock. Come back to me. Let yourself stop thinking for once." She looked at the door, then at him. Her feet moved before her thoughts caught up. She crossed the room in slow, almost hypnotic steps, reached for the bolt, and turned the lock. The click echoed like a surrender. When she turned around, River was there waiting. She walked back into his arms, and this time, when he kissed her, she kissed him back. He deepened it, letting his hands slide along her spine, pulling her close. She melted for a moment, clinging to something that felt like escape, but River didn't stop at the kiss. "You know Teddy's changed, right?" he whispered against her ear. "He's not looking at you the way he used to. He's tired, he's distracted, and I saw him at the mixer, talking to women his age like they were old friends, laughing, relaxed, not looking over his shoulder for you." Sierra tensed, trying to pull back slightly, but River held her firm. Sometimes men like that, older, successful, they want someone younger to show off. But when it's time to settle, really settle, they go back to what they know, to women who understand them. She blinked, her breath unsteady. River pressed in one last time, voice crueler now, more exacting. "And let's be honest, those women, they were shorter, curvier. Some of them had chests that actually filled out a dress." Sierra stiffened. Her face went cold. River delivered the final blow with a smile. "Maybe he wants someone with bigger titties." That was the breaking point. River's POV. She froze like she'd been slapped. He saw it in her eyes, the break, the crack that had always been there, but now ran straight through her. River expected her to slap him, or scream, or run. Instead, she just stood there, rigid, silent. And for a split second, something shifted in him. Not guilt, exactly, but an echo of something close. He hadn't meant to say it like that, or maybe he had. But now that the words hung in the air, ugly and undeniable, he saw what they did to her. Not just shame, not just betrayal. It was wounding. River looked at her, and for the first time, didn't feel like he was winning. He felt like he was standing in the ruins of something fragile, something he didn't build, something he didn't really understand. He took a half step back. "Sierra Blake," he thought, "you weren't supposed to break like this." But he didn't apologize. He didn't reach for her again. Because he knew some part of her had believed him. And whatever part didn't was busy wondering if maybe he was right. And that was enough. For now. Sierra's POV. She didn't remember how she left the lab. One moment she was standing there, heart split between pride and humiliation, and the next she was outside, the sun too bright, the breeze too sharp. The sidewalk shifted beneath her heels like it resented carrying her weight. She walked until the campus blurred around her, her hands shaking around the strap of her bag. Her chest was tight, her vision tunneled. She couldn't tell if it was anger or grief. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Maybe she just stepped over a line she couldn't see until it was already behind her. Everything River said echoed louder now that he was gone. The kiss, the insinuation, the things he said about Teddy, the way he said them. She knew what River was. She wasn't stupid. But the thing that gutted her, the thing that made her breath catch, wasn't him. It was the question he left behind. What if Teddy really was tired of her? What if the compliments, the encouragement, the sudden attentiveness, they weren't signs of deeper love? What if they were exit strategies wrapped in affection? One last stretch of kindness before the letting go. She sat down on a campus bench near the faculty garden and stared at nothing. River hadn't broken her, but he'd loosened the bolts, and now Sierra wasn't sure how much of her life still held together. Chapter 3. Broken and Forgiven Home. The drive home was silent, mechanical. Sierra barely registered the turns she took, the traffic lights she obeyed, or the ache in her temples from holding back too many thoughts at once. When she pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same, neat, serene, untouched. But stepping through the front door felt like walking into a museum of someone else's life. She placed her keys gently in the bowl by the door, like any sharp movement might cause the whole place to shatter. "Hey, sweetheart," Teddy called from the kitchen. "You're home early. Everything all right?" Sierra froze. He walked in, wiping his hands on a towel, the faint smell of something buttery following him. He looked at her with those warm, steady eyes, not questioning, just seeing her. She forced a smile. "Yeah, I just had an early finish." Teddy stepped closer, kissed her on the forehead, and took her bag from her shoulder with a gentleness that made her flinch. "You hungry? I made that pasta you like." Sierra shook her head faintly. "Not yet. I think I need a shower." He nodded, gave her a quick squeeze. "Take your time. I'll keep it warm." She climbed the stairs 1 foot at a time, her hand gripping the banister like it might help her stay upright. The moment the bathroom door closed behind her, she leaned against it, her chest tight, her eyes wide with unfallen tears. She didn't know how to feel. She didn't know what she was anymore. Shower. The steam wrapped around her like fog as she stepped into the shower, letting the water hit her face until her skin stung. She stood there, arms limp at her sides, eyes closed, mouth slightly open. She wasn't crying. Not yet. Maybe not at all. There wasn't room, not with everything spinning so loudly inside. Her thoughts ran in circles, chasing clarity that never came. What had she done? What hadn't she done? Was a kiss enough to call it betrayal? Was wanting it worse? Was she already lost the moment she turned the lock? She touched the tile behind her, grounding herself, and tried to imagine telling Teddy the truth. His face, his voice. Would he look at her like she was a stranger? Would he hate her? Or worse, would he already understand? She stepped out slowly, wrapped a towel around herself, and turned to the mirror. The woman staring back looked too calm. Her hair was wet, her eyes rimmed with red, but her mouth was steady, almost numb. She didn't see a cheater. Not exactly. And not a seductress either. What she saw was a wounded wife, a woman who had reached out blindly, desperate to feel desired, and grabbed the wrong hand in the dark. She pressed her fingers against the mirror's surface. "Who are you?" she whispered. But the woman in the mirror said nothing, and that was worse than any answer she could have given. Living room. Wrapped only in a towel, Sierra descended the stairs slowly, her bare feet nearly silent on the polished wood. She paused at the bottom, heart in her throat. Teddy looked up from his seat on the couch, eyes instantly widening, not in shock but in recognition. He put down his book and stood. Sierra's voice cracked like glass. "Teddy, do you like my titties?" He blinked once, then he smiled. "Babe? Yes, I really like your titties, and your shape. Come here, please." She walked toward him in measured steps. When she reached him, he pulled her into his arms so tightly she could barely breathe, his chin resting on the top of her shoulder. "Am I too tall?" she whispered. "No, baby. I like your height." "Am I too young?" "No, Angel, you are not too young. Where is this going?" She leaned back just enough to look up at him. Her lips trembled. "Do you love me? As much as you did on our wedding day?" Teddy's eyes didn't leave hers. "More, Angel, more." Sierra inhaled shakily. "Can you forgive me?" And then she broke. Her voice dissolved into choked sobs. She clutched at his shirt like a drowning woman. Words came out in a rush, confessions, fears, half-formed sentences that collided with each other in desperate waves. Teddy didn't interrupt, he just held her tighter. When the storm quieted, he kissed her temple and whispered, "I can forgive anything, babe. I love you. I'm right here if you want to talk." And in that moment, Sierra realized she didn't have to fix everything tonight. She just had to stay in his arms. Living room. Later. "Sierra, stand up, please." Teddy's voice was gentle, but firm. She rose slowly, unsure, still wrapped in her towel. He kissed her. She was taller than he was, so he had to reach, had to ask permission with his eyes before he did. She nodded. "You are my wife and not a frail flower. At the mixer, I saw you with others and saw how they migrated to you. I saw you in your element. I finally saw you as the real you. not the shy, reserved, dainty you. I saw the woman, Sierra Blake, and I liked it. A lot. He stood on his tiptoes and kissed her on her lips, hard and hungrily. He heard her breath hitch and looked into her eyes, those unbelievably beautiful gray eyes, and asked, "May I?" as his hands moved to the edge of her towel. She knew what he wanted to do, but he'd never done it like this before. "Yes, Teddy. Yes, please. Oh, please." And the towel fell to the floor. She was naked in his arms. He felt a little frisky and gently pulled her hair. Her eyes dilated. She showed that she liked where he was going. She relaxed. They were going to be okay. Confession scene. Teddy. I kissed River. He seduced me. I was powerless. He found my weaknesses. Around you. About you. And he made me think that you'd find a woman nearer your age. That you'd kick me to the curb. He said that since you'd sent me to work in my miniskirt, you wanted me to find someone else, so you didn't have to break up with me. I'd just leave. He said maybe you didn't like that I was young, that I have a flat chest. Teddy, are you bored with me? Do you want someone else? Please tell me. I can take it. Teddy didn't flinch. He stepped forward and took her face in both hands. No, Angel, I only want you. You are tall, and that's hot. You have smallish breasts, and that's incredibly hot. You have a slim waist? Hot. You have a really hot ass. Sorry, I calls 'em as I sees 'em. You have legs that I want to bite all day. You have feet that drive me nuts. Your hands, your arms, what can I say? And your eyes? Oh, Mary and Joseph, your eyes. I cannot take your eyes. They are too much. I love you just the way you are. And I haven't told you that enough because I was afraid I didn't know how. Then he lifted her left arm, bent low, and gave her a huge hickey along her side, between her breast and her waist. Did you hear what I just told you with my teeth? Sierra's eyes welled up. She nodded quickly. Yes, Teddy, I heard you loud and clear. I love you, Teddy. I love you with all my heart. Morning after, kitchen. Teddy, do you forgive me for kissing him? Yes, Angel. He means nothing. Teddy poured her a cup of coffee and handed it to her. His voice was even, his eyes calm, but beneath that, Sierra could feel the gravity in him. To be honest, he said, I sent you to college wearing that outfit to show him that I trust you. And maybe to make working with you harder for him. Sierra blinked, stunned. You what? I knew you'd look beautiful in it. I knew he'd see it. And I also knew you wouldn't fall for him. Not unless something inside you was already breaking. I just didn't know how deep your doubts had grown. She stared at him for a moment, then set her cup down, both hands trembling slightly. Teddy, I think I want to stop out for the summer. Go back in the fall. Summer isn't required, and I can start up again in August. I can't stand the thought of River right now. I approve, Teddy said. Pick a cruise you'd like and we'll go. Then his voice shifted, quiet but not uncertain. Now, do you want me to take care of River? A phone call can make it happen. Sierra shook her head slowly. No, I'll take care of him. I'll make an appointment to talk to the doctor about stopping out, and I'll explain what happened. Teddy moved to her side and wrapped his arms around her. Would you take me to that appointment? She asked softly. Of course, Angel, every step of the way. She leaned into his chest, her breath steadying. The healing had begun. Sierra's phone rang. Hello, Jess? Is this Sierra? Yes. What's up, Jess? Are we on speaker? No. A beat. Did you and River do anything? Sierra closed her eyes, stomach turning. No, why? Rumor has it that River's last girlfriend has HIV. But you're safe, right? There was a long silence. Yes, Jess. I'm safe. Thank you for telling me. Jess exhaled on the other end, audibly relieved. Okay, I just thought you should know, just in case. Sierra looked over at Teddy, still asleep, still hers. I appreciate it, Jess. More than you know. Sierra thought for a second that she'd let this go, bury it deep, and pretend the call never happened. But then she remembered what not knowing from her husband had done to her, how silence fed every fear, every crack in their trust. Not again. Not with Teddy. She took a deep breath and reached over, her hand warm against his shoulder. Teddy, she whispered, nudging him gently. He stirred, eyes opening slowly. Yeah, Angel, I need to tell you something else, she said, her voice shaky but calm. He sat up, sensing the shift. Sierra drew her knees up, wrapped the blanket tighter, and met his eyes. At the lab with River, he got my panties off. But he stopped there. I stopped him. I couldn't do it. I almost did, but I didn't. Teddy didn't move for a moment. Then he placed a hand gently over hers. Thank you for telling me. I didn't want to lie. Not even by silence. He nodded slowly. I know. I know that took courage. She blinked, tears welling again. Do you still love me? He leaned in and pressed his forehead to hers. More than ever. She drew another breath and then spoke again, quieter this time. There's one more thing, Teddy. He lifted his head. What is it? Jess called. She said River's last girlfriend has HIV. Teddy stiffened, processing that. I didn't go that far, but I needed you to know. I needed you to understand how close I came and what that might have meant. Teddy exhaled slowly and took her face in both hands. You didn't go through with it. You came home. You told me. And now we both know what we're protecting. You, us, everything. Sierra let out a breath she didn't know she was holding and nodded against his touch. I'm sorry for everything. I'm here, and we're going to be okay. He pulled her closer, wrapping his arm and leg around her, shielding her from the rest of the world with his body. I love you, Sierra. She melted into him, the warmth of his hold reassuring her in a way words never could. The next week, Jess called again. Hey, River is here in the lab and Reeve is out for the day. You want to come up here and have a chat? I can make myself scarce. Sierra's tone cooled. You know, I think Teddy might like to meet him. Thanks for the call, darling. I'll be there in an hour. She turned from the phone and looked at her husband. Teddy, take me to uni, please. We have someone to meet. He smiled without hesitation. Sure, babe. Right away. They drove up to the lab, and Sierra and Teddy walked in together, greeting Jess at the door. I'm going to make myself scarce, Jess said quickly. Sierra stopped her. No, stay. You might enjoy this. They walked further in until they saw River hunched over the workstation. Sierra approached him first. Hello. River turned, clearly surprised. His eyes traveled down her form. She was wearing the same tartan skirt and white silk blouse from that day. Hi, Sierra. I've missed you around here. I hear you're coming back in the fall. Sierra smiled politely. Hey, River, you remember my husband, right? Teddy, this is River. Teddy tilted his head. Was he one of the servers at that mixer? No, he's a grad assistant. You remember him, don't you? Teddy gave River a once-over and shrugged. No, sorry, but then I don't think about little boys like him very often. He turned back to Sierra. You ready to go see Dr. Gordon? We wanted to talk to him about this lab and the outstanding boy wonder grad assistant, if I recall correctly. Of course, I might not be remembering this, since I'm so friggin' old. Right, River? Haha, dumbass. Teddy looked at River like he was dog shit he'd stepped in. Chapter 4. Healing and Hope. Next month, Sierra and Teddy were unpacking for a week-long cruise aboard a Virgin Voyages adult-only ship to the Bahamas. Their stateroom overlooked the sea, sun pouring in as they opened suitcases. Teddy watched with amusement and growing interest as Sierra laid out outfit after outfit, bikinis, sundresses, lacy tops. She was going to show a lot of skin. Her hair had grown out, longer now, free, and exactly the way she liked it. Teddy stepped up behind her, his hands finding her waist, his lips brushing her neck. Teddy, stop. I need to unpack, she said, half laughing. She turned and looked into his eyes. Teddy, stop. Teddy, you're not listening, I can tell. He was grinning now. Teddy, don't take that off. We have to go to dinner soon. Teddy, don't push me down on the bed. Teddy, oh, Teddy. Mary and Joseph, I love you, Teddy. Kiss me there, Teddy. No, over here. After a wonderful dinner, they returned to their luxury stateroom. Teddy reminded her with a gleam in his eye, We are dancing tonight? Let's get dressed. Sierra agreed, knowing she'd have to wait for him to finish what he started. She pouted in a very cute way, and he pouted back, both laughing like school kids. Teddy changed into a formal tux while Sierra slipped into a black floor-length gown. She was elegance and allure in motion. As they finished getting ready, Teddy pulled her close and gently tugged her hair. Stop it, she fussed, swatting his hand. I spent time getting it just right. He kissed her cheek. It's perfect. You're perfect. Their eyes met in the mirror, and neither one looked away. They were dancing to Lily Was Here when Teddy leaned in and whispered, Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, please listen to what I'm about to say, and we can talk after this dance. I want you to think about throwing out those pills. What? Which pills? What? What are you saying? I want you to think about having my baby. I desire too. She stopped dancing, and her eyes immediately welled with tears. Her pupils dilated, her lips trembled. He handed her his handkerchief as she quietly stepped away from the dance floor. Did you really just say that you want children? Yes, baby. We have the money and the time. If you want to start trying now, or if you want to wait for the masters, it's up to you. I want you to have my child, if you will. Oh my God. Teddy, are you serious? Yes, baby. Very serious. I think you'd make the best mother and mom. I think you'd make a beautiful, beautiful mom. Sierra looked at Teddy and whispered, "We are done with this dance. We are going to start on a baby right now. If I could strip you down right here, right now, you'd be naked. Take me, Teddy. No more teasing. We have to get to work." Teddy smiled a broad grin and said, "Yes, baby. Let's get to work." Back in the stateroom, Teddy froze, halfway between laughing and groaning as Sierra pulled him down beside her. She wrapped her legs around his waist and whispered, "No more teasing, husband. You said you wanted a baby. Let's start now. Like, right now." He blinked at her, amazed. "Sierra, I mean it," she said, her voice low and urgent. "I'm not playing around, Teddy. I want to feel you. I want to remember every second of when we made our baby." He couldn't resist her, not when she looked at him like that. They moved together slowly at first, their laughter fading into quiet intensity. She kept whispering things about wanting to be full of him, wanting to feel close, wanting to be so connected they forgot where one ended and the other began. Afterward, they didn't separate. She clung to him like her life depended on it, her arms around his back, her body locked to his. "We're supposed to stay together for 30 minutes, she said against his ear. "No separating. It's supposed to help." "I can't feel my legs," he mumbled. "Then it's working." He laughed into her neck, utterly spent, utterly hers. She kissed his temple and ran her fingers through his hair, humming softly. He didn't ask what song it was. He just listened to her heart beating against his. The next morning, Sierra lay beside him, her face soft in the sunlight filtering through their stateroom window. She traced gentle patterns on his chest and whispered, "Teddy, can I tell you something?" He looked at her with tired but adoring eyes. "Of course, Angel. Anything." She propped herself up on one elbow, her tone shifting from playful to deeply emotional. "I want your baby. Babies. More than just the idea of them. I want to hold a child that is part of both of us. I want to see your eyes in theirs, your heart in their tiny chest. I want them to know what it feels like to be loved by you, and I want to be the one who shows them." Teddy blinked, overwhelmed. "Sierra?" She bit her lip, trying not to cry. "You make me feel safe. You make me feel like all the parts of me that were scattered and unsure have a home now. I don't want to wait to build this family. I want to do it with you, now. If we're blessed with more than one, I'll be the happiest woman alive." He didn't say anything at first. He just pulled her in and held her, forehead against hers. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked with emotion. "I'm not gonna lie. My dick hurts so much I might need medical leave," he said with a laugh that made her cry and laugh at the same time. "But, Angel, I'd peel off my own skin to make you happy. You want babies. You got me. All of me. We'll build that family. You just keep looking at me the way you do, and I'll crawl through fire." They stayed that way a long time, hearts open and breathing each other in, wrapped in love, pain, and purpose. She whispered, "We're going to be parents." And Teddy nodded, smiling through his exhaustion. "Yeah, we are." Later that day, Sierra wandered into the ship's cafe and came back with a whole pineapple in her beach bag. Teddy raised an eyebrow. What's that for?" She grinned, slicing it methodically. "Pineapple, core and all. Helps with implantation. Some woman on a forum swore by it. She said, sticky vibes only." Teddy chuckled, watching her chew with determined grace. "So this is our life now. Yup. Pineapple. Legs up. No separation. You're in this with me, husband." He saluted from the couch, wincing slightly. "Yes, ma'am." The next morning, Sierra sat cross-legged on the bed with her tablet, skimming articles and old forum threads. Teddy stirred beside her, bleary-eyed. She grinned. "Okay, so apparently if I dream of fish, it means twins. You didn't sneak a koi pond onto this cruise, did you?" Teddy rubbed his eyes. "I can barely walk, and now I'm supposed to summon prophetic fish dreams?" She tossed a pillow at him. "Laugh all you want. We're doing everything, even the feet-up thing after. The internet has spoken." He groaned, rolling over. "I don't think I can even sit up without help. What else does the internet say?" Sierra held up a tiny carved frog from the gift shop. "Also, Frodrick here is our fertility frog now. He's sacred. Do not question him." Teddy blinked. That frog's judging me. He should. You need to be better rested for the round. What is it now, 9? Teddy reached for her hand, laughing. I love you, Sierra Blake. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the stateroom door. Room service. Sierra jumped up, letting in the steward with a covered tray. She placed it on the table and lifted the lid. 12 eggs. Over easy. All for me, she said proudly. Teddy looked at her like she was inventing a new sport. That's a lot of eggs. She grinned, already reaching for a fork. They say eggs help you make eggs. Don't question science and superstition working together. Teddy raised both hands in surrender. I wouldn't dare. Later that morning, Teddy stepped out of the shower, towel over his shoulder, and walked into the room stark naked. Sierra, I think that I need to take a break. Look at my dick. She turned, and her eyes got huge. The friction burns on his penis and testicles made her gasp. Oh my God, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. I want a baby, but not by killing my husband. She rushed over and touched his arm tenderly. Okay, you get a week off, starting now, but in 7 days, back to it. Teddy gave a weak salute and collapsed onto the bed with a groan. 7 days. Got it. Countdown begins. That night, Sierra lay beside him in the dark, her head resting on his chest, his arm curled around her. Neither of them spoke for a while. Finally, she said softly, I didn't mean to push you so hard. I've never wanted something so much in my life. It feels like we're building something real, like there's a future waiting on the other side of this. Teddy stroked her shoulder. You don't have to apologize. I love how passionate you are, but I also want you to know you don't have to earn this future. You already have it. You have me. She kissed his chest, eyes welling with emotion. 3 more days and we're headed home. Teddy nodded. 3 days, then we start the next chapter. 3 days later, they returned home, sun-kissed and worn out in the best way. Teddy wheeled their suitcase through the front door. As Sierra dropped her carry-on and sighed with contentment, they spent the evening unpacking slowly, falling into the comfort of familiar things, bare feet on cool floors, the quiet hum of their house. Later, curled up together on the couch, Sierra looked at Teddy and took a breath. I've been thinking, she said. Dangerous, he teased. She smiled faintly. I want to postpone my return to grad school, not just because of River or because of what happened, but because I want to go in on the right footing. For me. For us. Teddy nodded, listening. And I think it's time I forgive myself. Really forgive myself. You already have, and I've been carrying the weight like I have to earn back something that you never took away. Teddy pulled her close. You're everything I hoped you'd be, and everything you're becoming. Sierra wiped a tear away and smiled through it. I'm going to write the university. Ask for a 1-year extension instead of just the spring. I want to try for a baby. No, I am trying for a baby. And I want to take the time to do it right. I want to bring our child into the world with joy, not stress, and return to grad school with a clear head and a full heart. So I'll ask for next fall. Not because I'm afraid of the challenge, but because I finally understand what it means to choose joy on purpose. I want time to rest, to focus, and to heal before I walk back in that lab as a different woman. Teddy kissed her temple. You'll walk in as Sierra Blake. That's more than enough. Subject, request for deferral to fall semester next year. Dear Dr. Reeve, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to formally request a 1-year deferment of my enrollment in the master's program in civil engineering. After considerable personal reflection, I've realized that stepping into this next academic chapter deserves my full presence, mentally, emotionally, and physically. My husband and I are currently planning to start a family, and I would like to take the necessary time to prioritize that journey wholeheartedly. This isn't a decision made lightly. Rather, it comes from a place of renewed clarity and purpose, values I know you foster in your program. It is my sincere hope to return next fall with energy, focus, and balance. I remain deeply committed to contributing meaningfully to both the department and your research work when the time is right. Thank you for your support and understanding. I would be happy to speak further or provide any additional documentation if needed. Warm regards, Sierra Blake. Sierra's Pregnancy Journal, Volume 1, Operation Sticky Vibes. Entry 1, Why I Want This. I want our child to feel safe from the moment they exist. I want them to feel Teddy's steadiness and my fire. I want little feet pattering on this hardwood floor, and I want to cry over baby socks that are too small to stay on. I want to make something sacred with the man who made me feel whole. Entry 2. The Science and the Magic, Day 4, Post-Ovulation. Pineapple, eaten. Legs, elevated. Froderick, placed under pillow. Also tried visualizing implantation like some kind of superhero origin moment. Maybe too much caffeine today. Entry 3. Teddy's Sacrifice. His poor parts. I have to cool it for a bit, but he's so sweet, even through the wincing. I told him this morning I'd give up anything to have his child. He said, don't give up eggs. Apparently they're sacred now. I love this man so much it scares me. Entry 4. Names boy, maybe August. Girl, maybe Marin, for strength. Middle name will be Blake, either way. Entry 5. What if it doesn't happen yet? I'll still love Teddy. I'll still be Sierra Blake. But I'll keep fighting for the dream. Because building a life together is the real dream, and we're already doing that. 8 days later, Sierra stood barefoot in the bedroom, looking around. Teddy, where are you? She called, voice light but loaded with intent. He stepped into the room, drying his hands. You're 1 day past your week off, she said with a raised eyebrow. You ready to clock back in, husband? Teddy smiled, cautiously. Depends, is Froderick still judging me? She laughed and pounced, pushing him onto the bed. Don't make me unleash the fertility frog. I've got a mission, Mr. Blake. Let's get to work. Teddy groaned, half dramatic and half excited. God help me. Sierra kissed him once, quick, eager, full of mischief, then stepped back and pointed toward the dresser. Today's back entry over the dresser day, she declared. With a 30-minute stillness hold afterward. Bring a magazine, Teddy. You'll be stationary for quite a while. Teddy gave a long-suffering sigh, grabbed the latest popular mechanics, and mumbled, I hope this child loves me half as much as you love this plan. 5 hours later, Sierra was looking deeply into Teddy's eyes. That Jedi mind trick of hers was working overtime. He was sweating now, really sweating. Stop looking at me like that, Sierra. Stop it. Okay? Don't stop. What are we trying now? She smiled, warm and relentless. I'm sitting on the edge of the dresser, and you're approaching from the front. 30-minute stillness after delivery. This way, you and I can kiss and hug. That'll be better, won't it? Teddy swallowed hard. You're trying to kill me with affection. She leaned in and whispered, No, I'm trying to build a family with the man I love. Let's go. It was nearly 11 o'clock that night when Sierra emerged from the bathroom in her favorite robe, eyes dancing. One last time before bed, she said, slipping it off and climbing into bed beside him. Teddy looked at her warily, but with love. Are you sure I'm still functional? She kissed him softly. Tonight, I'll do the work. You just stay still and love me. She straddled him, facing him, and began to move with slow purpose. I read I'm supposed to keep moving for 10 minutes. Keeps it foamy. Teddy blinked. That's oddly clinical. All part of the magic, she whispered, leaning in to kiss his jaw. And then she started to sing, not loud, not silly, just a soft, melodic thread of a song he didn't recognize but felt deep in his bones. The combination of her rhythm, her eyes, and that voice, it was unbearable in the most wonderful way. Sierra, he gasped, sweat beading on his forehead. When you whisper, it's hot, but this is some next-level Jedi shit. She smiled against his neck. We're a team, Teddy, you and me, and I want us to remember every part of how we built our family, together. They finished, and Teddy wouldn't let her move away. Baby, I want you to see this. He started to weep. What's wrong, Teddy? What is it, babe? I want you so much. I can't believe that we are so blessed, and your singing is too hot. He wiped his eyes. Did you notice how long I lasted? Sierra looked at him with surprise and mischief. Yeah, it was fast. I wondered about that. He laughed through his tears. Your voice short-circuited my brain. You did something to me, something beautiful. She kissed his face gently and whispered, Then I guess we're doing something right. Teddy lay there, arms still around her, eyes red but joyful. He stared up at the ceiling, then turned his face toward her, lips barely moving. You know what did it? Sierra lifted her head slightly, curious. What? That song. Bad Companies Feel Like Making Love. You started singing it right in the middle of everything, like it was just part of your heartbeat, and I swear to you, Sierra, that broke me in the best way. She smiled, a little embarrassed. You liked that, huh? He laughed softly, still breathless. Liked it. Sierra, I think my soul left my body. I've never felt so close to you. so overwhelmed and in love and wrecked and safe, all at once. She nestled against him, one leg over his, arms wrapped tight. "We're gonna be okay," she said. He nodded, brushing her hair back. "We're more than okay. We're unforgettable." Later, as they lay in the hush of the stateroom, Sierra brushed her fingers across Teddy's chest and whispered, "You know the last session? When I queued up Fogat?" He blinked. "Slow ride?" She grinned. "Yup, that one. I thought it might be cheesy, but it actually helped me keep rhythm." He burst into soft laughter. "That's the most Sierra Blake thing I've ever heard. I was serious about making it count. If we're gonna do this, I want every part of it to be full of music and memory, even if it's classic rock sex anthems." Teddy shook his head, smiling. "Well, no complaints here. You sing Feel Like Makin' Love, then Ride Me to Slow Ride. You're not just making a baby, you're composing a damn soundtrack." Teddy grinned, leaning in. "And next time, sweetheart, it's my turn to pick the song." Sierra laughed. "Deal. But you better bring your A game." She giggled, then leaned in to kiss his cheek. "Exactly. Our love story deserves one." The next morning, Sierra jolted awake, sitting straight up in bed. "Teddy," she whispered urgently, shaking his shoulder. "Teddy, wake up," he groaned. "What's wrong? What happened?" "I'm 5 days late for my period." His eyes flew open. "What?" She was already scrambling out of bed, practically bouncing with energy. 5 days, Teddy. I'm feeling lucky." Teddy sat up, the haze of sleep giving way to realization. "Wait, really? You're not just—" She turned around, radiant and grinning. "Dead serious. I'm never late. Never. I think." He was already on his feet, wide awake. "Do we have a test?" "No. But we're getting one. Right now." She kissed him hard and ran toward the bathroom. From behind the door, she called out, "Teddy, if this is real—" He pressed his hand to his heart and whispered, "Then the soundtrack worked." Teddy didn't even stop to get dressed properly. Within minutes, they were in the car, with him still buttoning his shirt while Sierra pulled up directions on her phone. When they got to the pharmacy, he barely parked the car before he was out the door, jogging past the aisles like a man on a mission. "Excuse me," he muttered to a startled clerk as he made a beeline for the pregnancy tests. He grabbed 3 brands, one digital, one traditional, and one with multiple sticks, then another box for good measure. By the time Sierra caught up with him at the register, he looked like a guy preparing for a science fair. "Overkill?" he asked sheepishly. She grinned and kissed his cheek. "No such thing." They drove home in silence, the kind of silence that buzzes with anticipation. Once inside, Sierra didn't waste a second. She tore open the boxes with trembling fingers and marched into the bathroom with all 4 tests like a general going to battle. Teddy stood outside the door, pacing. A moment later, she called, "Okay, I peed like nobody's business." They lined the 4 tests up on the sink, side by side, and waited. Neither of them breathed. And then, the first one showed a line. The second one blinked its word, pregnant. The third one matched the first. Teddy stared, slack-jawed. "Is this real?" Sierra's hands were shaking. "Teddy, it's real. They all say the same thing." He pulled her into his arms, silent, overwhelmed, and whispered, "We're gonna have a baby." She nodded, already crying. "Yes, yes we are." Teddy blinked, then widened his eyes dramatically. "We are in trouble." "What?" Sierra looked at him, alarmed. "Honey, 4 positive tests. We're having 4 kids?" She burst out laughing and crying at the same time, leaning into his chest. "You dork," she said, smacking him gently. "You scared me." They held each other tightly as she bounced with joy, both stunned and exhilarated. Then she whispered through her laughter, "I'm calling my OBGYN. I want a real appointment this week. Oh, baby Teddy." We're parents. Chapter 5. Building Our Family. He kissed her forehead and wrapped her in another embrace. "Yes, we are. And we're going to be amazing at it." That Friday morning, Sierra sat in the waiting room of her OBGYN's office, her hand in Teddy's. They didn't talk much, just exchanged quiet glances, little squeezes, the kinds of touches that said more than words ever could. When her name was called, Sierra stood up, stomach fluttering, and Teddy stood with her. "You're coming with me," she said. "You bet I am." Inside the exam room, they answered the usual questions, gave dates, and filled out new patient paperwork. Then came the ultrasound. Sierra held her breath as the screen flickered to life, and then, there it was, a tiny flicker, a heartbeat. The room fell still. "That's your baby," the doctor said gently. Sierra covered her mouth, tears streaming. Teddy looked stunned, eyes fixed on the monitor. Holy, that's ours, the doctor smiled. Congratulations, you're about 6 weeks along. Sierra looked her at Teddy, whose eyes had welled up. That's our baby, Teddy. That's our baby. He kissed her forehead, lips trembling. I already love them. The doctor left them alone for a moment, and Sierra whispered, I want to name her Marie if it's a girl. Teddy nodded. And if it's a boy, she smiled, then you get to pick. Matthew Blake. Sounds almost biblical, Teddy said. They left the clinic holding hands, walking slowly through the sunlit parking lot like time had slowed just for them. That night, Sierra curled up next to Teddy in their bed at home, her belly not yet showing, but her resolve sharper than ever. She traced circles on his chest with one finger. By the way, Teddy, you're officially off duty. He turned his head slowly. Off duty? She nodded with a teasing smirk. No more sex until the baby is born. Teddy's eyes widened in alarm. Wait, what? Sierra, baby, come on. She leaned in and kissed him softly, then whispered, You did your job. You did it so well that I can barely walk some mornings. But now you're on rest. Consider it enforced paternal leave. But what about my needs? He protested, only half seriously. She grinned and patted his chest. You can cuddle me. You can rub my feet. You can talk to my belly. But the rest, she leaned in and whispered again, playfully this time, off limits. He groaned and threw an arm over his eyes. I'm gonna die. No, she said, curling up against him, her voice rich with satisfaction. You're gonna be a father, and I'm going to be very, very good to you. Teddy peeked at her from under his arm and asked, So, what are you gonna do when the baby gives you bigger titties? Sierra blinked, then burst out laughing. Seriously, that's your question right now. He shrugged with a grin. I've been hearing that pregnancy can be transformational. She rolled her eyes and leaned in close. If they grow, you'll be the first to know. And if you're lucky, I might even let you touch them on alternating Tuesdays. Teddy clutched his chest. Tuesdays? Woman, you're trying to kill me. Sierra just smiled. No, Mr. Blake, I'm trying to keep you alive long enough to see me as a mama. Teddy tilted his head, thinking for a moment. Hey, since we're still early and you're feeling okay, what do you think about going on another cruise? She looked at him, curious. Another? Yeah, he said. You know, to see what we missed the first time. I seem to remember we never left the ship. She laughed. We didn't even leave the stateroom most days. He shrugged with a playful grin. Might be nice to actually enjoy the destinations before you can't go out. Think of it as our we made a baby victory lap. Sierra's eyes softened. That actually sounds perfect. I could use a little sun and sea and my favorite travel companion. Then it's settled, he said, kissing her forehead. Let's make a few memories before the diapers arrive. 2 weeks later, they were boarding their Virgin Voyages adults-only cruise. This time, they brought a calmer energy and a deeper understanding of what they were becoming together. Sierra glowed, not just from pregnancy, but from a newfound confidence that caught even Teddy off guard. After dinner and dancing, Sierra looked radiant and poised as she sipped sparkling water. Teddy suggested, No alcohol for either of us. Deal. She blinked, then nodded. Deal. Then she added, And just so we're clear, no sex either. Not until after the baby is born. He laughed, thinking she was joking. Sure, baby. Right. She didn't laugh. He blinked again. Wait, you're serious? She nodded once, slow and sure. Dead serious. Teddy sat back, stunned, not hurt, not even disappointed really, but caught off guard. What if I can't wait? She leaned in, her voice velvet and steel. Then you'll wait anyway, because I said so. He swallowed hard. There was no room for debate, and oddly, that thrilled him. This wasn't the quiet, shy, uncertain younger woman he married. This was Sierra Blake, the woman who now stood tall as his equal, maybe more than his equal. She was in control of her body, her choices, and at least for now, his, and he couldn't have been prouder. Okay, he said softly. Okay. What Teddy noticed immediately was the shift from asking to telling. We need a van, she said one morning while brushing her hair. Please sell the Lexus. We need more than 2 doors. Get a Toyota Sienna. Another day, as she folded laundry, Teddy, you need a haircut. Get one this afternoon. And most recently, as she modeled a string bikini in their stateroom mirror. Teddy, we will be wearing this since I don't have much of a baby bump yet. You will not mind, right? It wasn't a question. He could only blink and nod, caught in awe again of her calm command. She wasn't being mean. She wasn't demanding. She was just in control now, effortlessly, radiantly in control. And Teddy, he wasn't just okay with it. He was over the moon proud. Another shift caught him by surprise. Sierra didn't mind being taller than him anymore. In fact, she seemed to embrace it. She started wearing heels again, not just for special occasions, but because she wanted to. Elegant nude pumps, black stilettos, bold red wedges. With them on, she stood nearly 4 inches taller than Teddy. At first, he thought she might be teasing him, but when she met his eyes, looking slightly down now, with a quiet, regal confidence, he realized she wasn't trying to mock his height. She was owning hers. And God help him, he found it devastatingly beautiful. One morning, Sierra settled next to him on the bed, her tone softer but no less serious. Teddy, I want you to teach me about finances. I don't want to control them, but I need to know how they work, how you have us set up, and I want you to start placing my name on some accounts. In case anything happens, God forbid, I need to know how to raise the family. Teddy looked at her and added, let's add you to the accounts. That way, should anything happen to me, you will have access to the assets with fewer problems. And if we get you your own bank account and put the van loan in your name, you will get a credit rating. I just want to know that you are set if any emergency arises, if I can't take care of it. Teddy looked at her, pride rising in his chest. She wasn't seizing control, she was building security. She wasn't asking to take over, she was asking to stand beside him, and he thought that was a brilliant idea. But Sierra wasn't quite done surprising him. Later that evening, as they lay tangled in each other on their suite's couch, she turned toward him with a glint of mischief in her gray eyes. Teddy, she said, running a finger slowly down his chest, I want something from you. He arched an eyebrow, cautious. I thought I was off duty. You are, she said, smirking. But this doesn't require you to undress or strain anything. That piqued his curiosity. Okay, what are we talking about here? She leaned in, whispered her request into his ear, and then sat back, watching him flush from the collar up. You're serious? She nodded once, slowly. I want to see if I can get what I want without giving anything. Just one thing. But I'm not joking about wanting it. Teddy stared at her for a second, then laughed, deep, helpless laughter that filled the suite. You're impossible, he said. And you love me, she replied. More every day. Then he pulled her closer, eyes shining with amusement and awe. You know, you surprise me, all the time. And not just because you're pregnant, but because you're you, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Sierra smirked, her voice velvet. So, you'll do it. He let out a slow breath, still grinning. Yeah, of course I will. You're carrying my baby. I'll worship you however you like. But as the minutes passed, Sierra noticed him hesitating, like he was waiting for her to change her mind or take it back. She narrowed her eyes and tilted her head. Teddy, she said firmly. Why are you waiting? He blinked. I don't know. I guess I just didn't expect you to actually go through with it, taking it away from me. I thought maybe it was a test or a tease. She shifted forward, her voice low but certain. It's not a test. It's not a tease. I asked for something because I wanted it, because I want you, all of you, not just the protector, not just the provider, you. So stop second-guessing, Mr. Blake. I'm pregnant, not made of glass. Teddy exhaled slowly and nodded. Yes, ma'am. He took a moment, steadying his breath as he prepared. This wasn't just about responding to her request. It was about honoring the strength she now walked with. Her command stirred something deep in him, not fear or submission, but awe and reverence. She had changed, yes, but so had he. He moved carefully, reverently, as if tending to something sacred. There was a part of him that still worried. Was she really okay? Would this make her feel adored or exposed? But then he looked up and saw her watching him, her eyes like brushed steel and thunderclouds, full of certainty. She had asked for this. She wanted this, and Teddy wanted to give her everything. Not because he had to, because it was his joy to do so. Sierra reached down and gently cradled his face in her palms, her thumbs stroking the faint stubble along his jaw. Teddy, she whispered, I know what you're doing, and I need you to know this isn't about power or control or getting something without giving. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from truth. This is about trust. I asked for something tender, and you didn't flinch. You didn't laugh. You didn't bargain. You just showed up for me. She leaned down and pressed her forehead to his, their breaths mingling. I will never forget this, Teddy. I will remember this forever. Mrs. Blake, I guarantee you will never forget this night. Her hands slid into his hair, pulling him into a long, reverent kiss. You worship me, she whispered. But you need to know, I worship you right back. She let the moment settle before adding, with a playful smirk, but I should warn you, if I'm not satisfied, you may have to wait a long time after the baby is born. Think quality, not quantity. And she smiled that Sierra Blake naughty smile. Teddy blinked up at her, breath caught in his throat. Oh, he knew exactly what she meant, and God help him, he loved her for it. And when it was over, he looked up at her like a man desperate for oxygen. His voice was a little raw, a little husky. Were you satisfied? He asked quietly. Sierra didn't answer at first. She let her fingers graze through his hair, her gaze soft and unreadable. Then she nodded slowly. Mostly. However, there is room for improvement. Teddy felt the words hit like a soft mallet to the chest. Not harsh, but potent. His heart pounded with uncertainty. She hadn't meant it to wound, he could tell from her tone, but it landed anyway, and he stewed in it. What hadn't been enough? Was it his hesitation? His pacing? His technique? He didn't want to ask. At least not yet. That might come across as needy. But God, he wanted to know. For her. He busied himself folding the edge of the blanket, trying not to look too lost in thought. But his mind was replaying everything. He needed to figure it out. Improve. Because next time, he was going to blow her mind. Sierra had been watching him for several quiet minutes. The way he kept adjusting the blanket, the thoughtful frown carved into his forehead, the silence that had once been comfortable, now humming with uncertainty. She bit her lip, just a little. Maybe she'd pushed too far. Teddy? She said gently. He glanced up, eyes wide, hopeful and anxious all at once. You're brooding, she said. Are you okay? He paused, debated, then shrugged. I'm just thinking about what you said. She slid closer, pressing her hand to his chest, feeling the quick rhythm beneath. Hey, if I went too far, if that wasn't fun for you, or if it made you feel less than. No, he said quickly, gripping her hand. No, it wasn't that. It's just, I wanted to be perfect for you, and I wasn't sure if I was. Her expression softened. Teddy, you're not perfect. Neither am I. That's not what I want. I want us real, messy, improving, trusting us. He exhaled slowly, his hand still holding hers. Okay, he said again, this time meaning it more, and the tension that had been building quietly between them slowly dissolved like mist at sunrise. A few days later, as they were lounging on the couch one lazy afternoon, Teddy glanced at Sierra and smiled. Sierra, I have an idea. She looked up from her book. What might that be? What is your most stressful day? She tilted her head. Wednesday. Favorite time of the evening? 8 o'clock. Teddy sat up straighter. I hereby declare that Wednesday at 2000 hours is bath night, commencing tonight at 2000 hours. Sierra raised an eyebrow, then grinned. A declared ritual. I like it. That evening, precisely at 2000 hours, a hot bath was drawn, lavender salts and bubbles filling the air with calm. Sierra and Teddy settled into the tub together, the warm water soothing every inch of their tired bodies. As Teddy began to talk, Sierra, with a gentle smile, put her finger across his lips. Her gray eyes sparkled with intent. He caught the message instantly. No words, no chatter. Bath night is quiet time, she whispered. To just be. And with that, they leaned into each other, sharing the silence and warmth, letting the world melt away. Sierra paused in the doorway, heart catching in her throat. The soft glow of candles, the gentle steam rising from the lavender bath, the bottle of sparkling grape juice chilling on the side, he had thought of everything. For her. For them. A warmth spread through her chest, not just love, but something deeper. A profound gratitude, a sense that in this new dynamic, where she was learning to lead with confidence, he still met her every step with devotion and grace. I'm not alone in this, she thought. I'm not dragging him. He's carrying me too, in ways I didn't even know I needed. She blinked away a sudden tear and smiled. God, I love this man. Baby kick Sierra's free hand flew to her belly. Teddy turned quickly. What is it? Are you okay? She blinked, wide-eyed, her breath catching. I think I just felt the baby move. His mouth opened. Really? She nodded, pressing her hand gently where the flutter had been. It felt like bubbles, little popping bubbles, or maybe a goldfish swimming inside. She looked up at him, her voice soft with wonder. It was the strangest, sweetest thing. Teddy beamed. You felt our baby. She smiled back, still a little dazed. Yes, for the first time. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. Our little one saying hello. Sierra stood still for another moment, eyes closed, palm resting on her belly. I'm carrying life, she thought. Our life. Words that hurt. And yet sometimes lately she might say something that cuts. Teddy, you are getting fat. As soon as she said it, she questioned why she'd said it. She noticed that she was sniping a lot lately, and sometimes she just didn't think before she spoke. This isn't like me, she said to herself. Teddy didn't know what to make of this observation. Actually, he had lost a couple of pounds after their cruise. What struck him as odd was that she didn't seem to care how he received the news. It was like she just had to say it, and then she didn't understand why he looked forlorn. He sat quietly for a moment, trying not to let the comment burrow too deep. She didn't mean it, he told himself. She's changing. She speaks differently now. It doesn't mean she loves me any less. Still, it stung, and he wondered if sometime soon they'd need to talk about the edges that were starting to sharpen. And then it happened. One evening, after dinner, Sierra summoned him again, her tone brooking no argument. He went willingly. He always did. When he had given her what she asked for, trying harder this time, pouring himself into the act with reverence and focus, he pulled back slowly, looking up at her with hopeful eyes. She stared down at him for a beat too long, then shrugged, her voice flat. You're not very good at it tonight, she said quietly, her tone tired and raw. She thought, oh hell, I hope Teddy didn't hear that slip. Where did that come from? She wasn't ready to talk to Teddy about her ex. He did hear, and Teddy felt something in his chest crack, sharp and fast. Before he could mask the sting, she added, barely above a whisper, I think I miss how you used to touch me. Maybe it was better before. This time, the blow landed hard. He froze, breath gone, chest hollow. And Sierra? She was already reaching for her robe, moving on, as if she hadn't just scattered his confidence in a single breath. 6th-month checkup. The doctor's office. 3 weeks later, they sat in the exam room for her 6-month checkup. The doctor smiled warmly as he scanned her latest chart. Everything is perfect. Are you sure you don't want to know the gender? Sierra shook her head with that quiet certainty she wore more often now. We're sure. Very well. The doctor smiled again. Your numbers are great. The baby is doing fine. The appointment wound down with routine questions, and the doctor stood to wrap up. Teddy hesitated, then cleared his throat. Doctor, could I have a quick word with you? Alone? The doctor blinked, then nodded smoothly. Of course. He turned to Sierra. Mrs. Blake, my PA has a couple of forms for you to fill out. We like to have updated records as your pregnancy advances. Ask her for the 10T packet. He glanced at Teddy. Did you have any questions, Ted? Yes, doctor. Sierra gave Teddy a quick kiss, then walked out with a swish of confidence. The door clicked shut behind her. Teddy exhaled and leaned forward, voice low. She's been awfully bitchy and cruel lately. The other night, she told me that my sexual prowess was less than her ex, that her ex was better than me. I didn't even know she had an ex, let alone that they were intimate. The doctor gave a knowing smile, leaning back in his chair. First child, huh? Let me give you some anecdotal advice, worth the paper it's printed on. Teddy leaned in. My wife and I have 3 kids, a boy, a girl, and another boy. First pregnancy? Except for the glow, you couldn't tell she was pregnant. Second pregnancy, he grinned. 4 or 5 months in, my sweet wife was hovering over the bed, twisting her head backwards, crawling up the walls, projectile vomiting green bile with precision, and muttering things like, your mother sucks in hell. He gave a small laugh. Then after our daughter was born, snap, she was her normal self, no memory of the demon spawn phase. Teddy blinked. You're kidding. The doctor held up a hand. Not a bit. You saw The Exorcist, didn't you? He grinned again. Now I know you don't want to know the gender, but I'd bet a nickel to a donut you're having a girl. Teddy exhaled slowly. Take what she says right now with less than a grain of salt. Be ready to apologize to anyone she's pissed off along the way. And if the ex stuff truly bothers you, wait until after delivery and then get a marriage counselor involved. Something to consider. Teddy shook his head slowly. Seriously, the doctor nodded. I was never so close to divorcing my wife as I was during that time. If it had lasted one more day, we were done. He gave a rueful smile. No shit. Oops. Sorry, but I'm very serious. Again, statistically it's crap, but I've been down that path. If you need to talk to her doctor or just talk to another guy, make an appointment. We help dads and moms. You'll be fine. Tired, but fine. The door opened and Sierra returned, 10-tea packet in hand. She slid into the chair beside Teddy, arching a brow. Teddy, did you get all your questions answered? He smiled, gentle and measured. Yes, dear, I did. Everything good? He reached for her hand and squeezed it gently. Everything is perfect. As they walked out of the office, Sierra tilted her head slightly, a sly little smile forming. Teddy, do we have to wait until Wednesday to have a bath night? His eyes twinkled. Angel, we can have a bath night anytime. I am always up for time with you. They got home late that morning, sunlight pouring through the windows. As Teddy put down his keys, Sierra stretched, her voice casual but firm. I think it's time for bath afternoon. He blinked. Right now? She gave him that look, the one that left no room for negotiation. Yes, Theodore, right now. Teddy smiled when he heard his formal name. She always seemed so serious when she invoked formality. Teddy smiled and headed off to draw the bath. He filled it with lavender salts again, the ritual now so familiar it felt sacred. But in his haste, he forgot the sparkling grape juice. When Sierra stepped in and surveyed the setup, her eyes tilted playfully. No grape juice? Sk, you're slipping, Mr. Blake. Teddy grinned. One moment, ma'am, and darted off. With that, she untied her robe and slipped it off, standing before the full-length mirror. Her eyes scanned her reflection, 6 months of baby bump now unmistakable. But her gaze lingered on her chest. She cupped her small breasts with a frown. What's wrong with me? She whispered, half to herself. Still a 30A cup. Teddy opened his mouth to reassure her, but stopped himself. She was processing something deeper. Without another word, they slipped into the bath. Sierra settled herself between Teddy's legs, leaning back against him in their usual spooned position. For a while, it was quiet, the water warm and soothing. But then, as they relaxed, Teddy's body responded to the closeness, an involuntary reaction he couldn't stop. Sierra stiffened, her voice was sharp. Stop it, not up my butt. You know I don't want sex right now, and here you are, asking for it. Teddy's heart dropped. He immediately stammered, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean. But Sierra cut him off, her gray eyes flashing with sudden anger. Tell me the truth, Teddy. You think that's what I'm for? Right now? She hissed, eyes blazing. He shook his head frantically, voice cracking. No, Sierra, never, please, that's not what I meant. But she was already climbing out of the bath, her movements fast and tense. She dressed in silence, grabbed her robe, and as she reached the door, she slammed it hard enough to rattle the frame. Teddy sat frozen in the water, stunned, heart racing. What just happened? Teddy reflects. Teddy sat in the cooling water, motionless, his heart hammering. His first instinct was to chase after her, to explain again that he hadn't meant anything, that his body had simply responded the way it always had when she was near. But something in her tone, that word, the venom behind it, had stopped him cold. Of course he didn't. He adored her, worshipped her, loved her body, loved her strength, loved her growing belly, and every ounce of the woman who carried their child. But right now, none of that mattered. She hadn't been able to hear it, not tonight. And for the first time in this long, strange, beautiful, difficult journey, Teddy felt alone, truly, deeply alone. His arms drifted to the edges of the tub. He pressed his fingers into the porcelain to steady himself. Don't cry, he told himself. Not now, not yet. And then he remembered her doctor and what he said, never so close to divorcing my wife as I was during that time. Teddy hadn't completely bought it at the time, but now he was seeing the commonality. The snapping at seemingly nothing, slipped comments about an ex that he still needed to learn about, thinking that I am fat. Teddy then jumped to an unwarranted conclusion. We are having a girl. As she slammed the door behind her, Sierra's chest heaved, not from exertion, but from something tighter, darker. Why did I say that? Her feet carried her down the hallway, but her mind was already spiraling. The second the words had left her mouth, the flash of Teddy's face, hurt, stunned, hollow, seared itself into her memory. He wasn't asking for sex, her mind whispered. He was reacting, just reacting in a super hot manner to my beauty. He still gets hard when you touch him. Hell, he gets hard when you look at him with that look. And you tore him down. Some days, Sierra, you are a bitch. The anger that had flared so brightly inside her was already bleeding away, leaving behind a cold, aching guilt. But she couldn't turn back. Not yet. She couldn't face him, not while her own emotions were still a tangled mess of pride, hormones, and shame. Why can't I control it? She thought bitterly. I love him. God, I love him. But right now I feel like someone else is inside my head, pushing my words, twisting my tone, and I can't stop it. She reached their bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and buried her face in her hands. Please, she thought, please let him understand. Please let him forgive me later. But just as another sob caught in her throat, something shiny caught her eye on the nightstand. A small silver charm Teddy had bought her months ago, a tiny heart locket she'd almost forgotten about. Her breath hitched. The sharp guilt faded just a little, replaced by something simpler: distraction, softness, memory. Her mind latched onto it, pulling her away from the spiral. It's pretty, she thought vaguely. I should wear it again. And with that, the moment of crisis shifted, not gone, not healed, but for now, set aside. She picked up the locket, turning it between her fingers. The words, the slammed door, Teddy's wounded face, all floated somewhere just beyond her reach. For now. Later that evening, the silence in the house was deafening. Teddy stayed downstairs, giving her space. He needed space, too, his chest still tight from the memory of her words. Upstairs, Sierra sat curled on the bed, still holding the locket in her palm. Part of her wanted to march back down and apologize, beg for forgiveness. The other part still trembled, afraid of facing what she'd done. Finally, unable to sit still, she padded down the hallway. At the top of the stairs, she stopped, seeing Teddy through the railing. He sat on the couch, elbows on knees, staring at nothing. She opened her mouth, closed it, then forced the words out, voice hoarse. Teddy? He looked up slowly. Her throat tightened. I'm so sorry. A beat. I didn't mean what I said. I didn't mean any of it. Teddy's jaw worked as he swallowed. His voice came low and tired. I know you didn't, but it still hurts. Tears welled in her eyes. I know, and I hate myself for it. It's like something inside of me takes over and I react. It's really strange. Maybe my hormones are fighting with the babies. A long pause stretched between them, raw, uncertain. Finally, Teddy stood. He walked to the stairs, reached up, and held out his hand. She took it, wordlessly, gratefully. As he pulled her into his arms, he whispered, We're going to get through this, but we need help. She nodded, clinging to him. Anything it takes. The next morning, Sierra woke up early and made tea for both of them. No fanfare, no grand gesture, just warmth. She brought his mug to the couch and sat beside him without a word. They didn't speak much that morning, but everything felt lighter. There was a kind of quiet grace between them. Something raw and honest had been touched the night before. Later that day, she looked at him across the dining table. We should talk to someone, she said. Not because we're broken, but because I don't want to keep hurting you when I can't explain myself. Teddy nodded slowly. I want that too. I think we're strong enough to do the work. She reached for his hand. We are, and I want to be stronger for you, for her. She paused. I know we don't know the gender yet, but in my heart, I feel like it's a girl. Teddy squeezed her hand. Then let's learn to be the kind of parents she'll be proud of. First counseling session, 2 weeks later. Teddy and Sierra sat side by side on a soft couch, facing a middle-aged woman with warm eyes and a gentle voice, Dr. Madeline Keene, marriage counselor. Neither of them quite knew what to expect. Dogger, Keene smiled after the introductions. So, what brings you here? Sierra swallowed, then spoke first. I'm not myself lately, and I've been saying things, cruel things, that I can't seem to stop, and I'm hurting him. It's like something is controlling my voice. I have never been like this before. Teddy squeezed her hand gently. And I love her. I know she's not trying to hurt me, but it still hurts. Dr. Keene nodded. That's very honest and very human. She leaned forward slightly. Sierra, pregnancy can cause enormous emotional swings, hormones, fatigue, anxiety about the future. But that doesn't mean you can't learn to catch yourself. And Teddy, you can learn to communicate your needs, even when she's in those moments. Sierra looked down, voice small. I'm afraid he'll stop loving me. Dr. Keene. Teddy, what do you feel about that? Teddy's voice cracked. That's impossible. I can't stop loving her. I cannot stop loving you, babe. We are part of each other, and nothing will change that. Dr. Keene smiled softly. Good. Then let's build from that. She looked between them. This isn't about blame. This is about new tools for both of you. For the next hour, they talked about pressure, about trust, about safety, about love. Near the end, Dr. Keene gave them a small homework assignment. Teddy, next time you feel hurt, say it. Kindly, clearly, but say it. And Sierra, next time you feel the sharp words coming, breathe first. Ask yourself, will this bring us closer? If not, pause. Sierra blinked, voice shaking. I need to say this out loud. She looked at Teddy, tears brimming. I know I said cruel things. I need to be better. Teddy squeezed her hand silently, throat too tight to speak. They left the office lighter, not fixed, not yet, but with hope. And as they walked hand in hand to the car, Teddy stopped and took her in his arms and said, Thank you, and I promise to tell you if you say something hurtful. Sierra squeezed his hand. No, my love, thank you for staying. She's calmer now. We're both healing. I still feel cautious sometimes, but I see her trying, and I will meet her there. Return to sex. The next day, in a private conversation with Teddy, Sierra said this. You know, I have been too harsh on you. I know that after the baby is born, we will have to abstain from sex until I heal, but I think that not making love to you before birth is too harsh. I'd like to take back what I said. Will you allow me to do that? Will you allow me to give you back sex? Will you allow me to make you a very, very happy boy? A man? She grinned as she corrected the boy comment. Yes, Angel. I'd love to allow you to do that. My God, I'd love to allow you to do that, Sierra repeated. I'm going to make you a very happy man. I'm going to be so good to you. It had been a good week, lighter, easier. They had resumed their bath nights, and Sierra seemed more herself again. One quiet afternoon, while Teddy was reading on the couch, Sierra walked in with a mischievous sparkle in her eye. She winked. Mr. Blake? He looked up, instantly alert. Yes, doctor? I have reviewed your medical records, she said, folding her arms in mock authority. And it seems you are overdue for a digital prostate exam. Teddy blinked, then swallowed. What do we do about that? He asked nervously. He'd had this digital exam before, and she took another step forward. Yes, we really should keep up to date on these things. Another wink. You are going to get that exam. Today. Right now, in fact. I have found 30 minutes in my schedule of patients, and we will get started right away. No, Mr. Blake. No arguments. Now is the time. Teddy's mouth fell open slightly, and all he could say was, but, I believe this will bring us closer, she added sweetly. And it's funny that you stammer that word out. That was the word I would have used as well. Then she pointed toward their guest bath. Since I see that you wisely agree, proceed to exam room number 1 and prepare yourself. I'll be in just a moment. Teddy practically scrambled off the couch, half laughing, half stammering. Yes, doctor, absolutely. He almost ran into the guest bath, closing the door behind him. His heart thudded with excitement and nerves. Moments later, he heard a knock. Mr. Blake, I am entering. Yes, doctor, he called, voice hoarse. The door opened. Sierra walked in slowly, her eyes twinkling with wicked amusement. She turned him gently toward the sink. Now relax, she murmured, opening a cabinet and pulling out a box of latex gloves. Teddy then said, Geez, doctor, you are very dominant today. You have no idea, Mr. Blake. You have no idea how dominant I can be. He heard the snap of the gloves going on, and his breath hitched. A moment later, the cold, slick touch found its mark. Teddy tensed, eyes wide. Everything seems in order, Mr. Blake, she said in her most professional tone. Then her voice lowered, velvety smooth. You know, I might have felt something in your digital prostate exam. Teddy swallowed hard, eyes wide. I think that emptying your prostate is in order, she continued with a slight smile. I need to get new gloves, but snap, snap went the fresh pair, punctuating her words. I think it is well worth the effort to ensure good prostate health. Don't you agree, Mr. Blake? Teddy's breathing hitched audibly. Yes, doctor, I fully agree. You have my every confidence. And I have your entire prostate. You may feel a warm sensation. Sierra said matter-of-factly, her tone almost clinical. That is normal. Don't be embarrassed. I am a highly trained professional. This doesn't have any effect on me as a woman. I am never attracted to a man with such a fine ass. I will be strictly professional here, even after I examine your dick. She leaned slightly closer, her voice dropping just enough to let the teasing glimmer show through. "Mr. Blake, please stop groaning and breathing so deeply. Professional decorum is expected, sir." Teddy's heart pounded, his voice shaky. "Please, be complete in this exam." "I plan to be very complete," Sierra replied smoothly. "It may take quite a while today." She guided him gently forward. "Please bend over. This may be cold, but you will warm up shortly." She paused, one gloved hand resting lightly against his back. "Are you ready? Let's do this on 3. Ready? 3. Teddy closed his eyes, leaned back slightly, and whispered, "What happened to one in toe?" And Dr. Sierra was indeed very thorough in her exam. She took her time, expertly working through each part of her procedure, and telling him exactly what she was doing. Teddy, breathing shallow, gripped the edge of the sink, completely at her mercy. Dr. Sierra Blake then said, "Mr. Blake, when you feel pressure, try to not hold it in. Just let the fluid pass into the sink, or down your leg like you just did." "Oh, Mr. Blake, aiming would have been appreciated, but we have a mop, do not fear. Attention, clean up in exam room 1. When she finally withdrew her touch, she peeled off the gloves with a crisp snap and smiled. "Mr. Blake, would you agree that your prostate is well and truly empty?" Teddy's voice was breathless. "Oh, yes, doctor, well and truly empty. And I thank you, doctor. Might I nap for a while? I am pretty tired." Sierra's smile deepened. "Yes, let me help you to the exam bed." She guided him gently to the guest bed they had playfully dubbed exam room number 1. Teddy lay back with a grateful sigh. As she draped a light blanket over him, he looked up, eyes full of warmth. "Dr. Angel, thank you so very much for these exams, and thank you so very much for talking to me every step of the way. It made this exam so very pleasant. You are the best doctor ever." The Blakes have a lot of bath night sets. It was bath night again. The candles were lit, the lavender salts in the water, the familiar ritual bringing a sense of calm. Sierra settled between Teddy's legs, leaning back against him. For a time, they just breathed together, the warmth wrapping around them both. But then, just as before, Teddy's body responded, an involuntary reaction. He tensed, unsure if she would take it the wrong way again. Sierra shifted slightly, and her voice came soft, amused. "I feel that." Teddy's breath caught. "I'm sorry." "Not tonight, you aren't," she whispered. "Tonight, you are mine." She reached back without hesitation, her fingers gently squeezing the offending part of him. Sierra said, jokingly, "Mr. Blake, your dick hovering around my butt again has me concerned for my safety. We have talked about this reaction. A little more professionalism would be appreciated. Do I need to squeeze some pain into this offending area? I am quite capable of rendering this body part useless for several days. Want proof?" She leaned over to kiss him on his lips. Her touch was tender, not accusatory, but her touch's pressure was increasing quickly. In her best fake psychiatric tone, she asked, "What do you think of that, Mr. Blake? How does that make you feel?" Teddy noticed that the pressure had increased to levels unknown until she released his offending member. She grinned a suspicious grin and let go of his precious, precious member. She took a breath, voice lowering, a hint of vulnerability threading through. "I have to admit that I'm nervous, but I need you tonight. I'm done with the bath. I'll be in our room. When you're ready, come in. Don't knock. Just come in." She turned her head, her gray eyes meeting his. "Whatever happens, be gentle. We're in the 7th month, and please be careful." Teddy's heart swelled with tenderness. "We don't have to, not if you're not comfortable." Sierra shook her head slowly. "No, Teddy, I need this. I need you. I need your arms, your hands, your kisses. Am I being clear, or would additional pressure on your dick help clarify things?" "Oh, no. You are being very clear. No additional pressure is desired, doctor. Apologies." She stood gracefully, gathering her robe. Before stepping out, she added with a shy smile, "I will talk all the way through it, and if you put on some music, I'll sing to you." And then she was gone, leaving Teddy in the warm water, heart racing, moved beyond words. Teddy let the water out and dried off quickly. He didn't bother to dress. He was in a bit of a hurry. Without hesitation, he padded down the hall and gently burst into their bedroom. Sierra was lying on the bed, completely naked, on her side, her growing belly preventing her from lying on her stomach anymore. She looked over her shoulder at him, gray eyes soft and expectant. Teddy's heart skipped a beat as he took in the sight of his whole family, his beautiful wife, Sierra, and their unborn, beautiful baby, name still unknown, lying together on top of the bed. For a moment, instinct nearly took over. He desperately wanted to leap on the bed and wrestle playfully, as they once had. But he stopped himself. Instead, he slid gently onto the bed beside her. Reaching up, he brushed her hair back with his fingers, then gave a gentle tug on a handful, eliciting a small smile. She looked at him warmly. "I love you, babe." He remembered her words, "Talk all the way through it and sing." Smiling, he hopped off the bed and started the music. As the soft strains of "You Are So Beautiful" by Joe Cocker filled the room, Sierra began to sing, her voice sweet, vulnerable, full of emotion. Teddy lay back down beside her, tracing the outline of her back with a single finger, slowly, reverently. He leaned forward and kissed the small of her back, then stole a playful kiss on her butt, pinching it gently at the same time. As the song ended, Sierra looked over her shoulder once more. "Do you like what you see?" "Oh yes, I love what I see," she smiled, teasing. "What is your favorite part? Honestly now." Teddy reached up and gently cupped her left nipple. "Just the left one?" she asked, a laugh in her voice. "It's my favorite. The right one is too stuck up," she giggled. "But they're so little. Why do you like them?" He smiled softly. "Because they're yours, silly." Teddy looked at her, a thoughtful glimmer in his eyes. "You know, the last time I served you, I learned a couple of new techniques." And with that, Teddy began. Dr. Teddy was very accomplished. He took his time with his examination, moving with a kind of quiet purpose and care that made Sierra's breath catch more than once. He explored with deliberate attention, testing familiar places, then surprising her by lingering on others. She gasped softly when his mouth moved lower, and lower still, until he began what could only be described as a thorough tongue examination. Her first instinct was to tense. No one's ever done that before, she thought, her heart racing. But he was gentle, patient. He kept her grounded with murmured reassurances, and soon the unfamiliar gave way to something she couldn't deny. She liked it, more than she was ready to admit. A flicker of guilt pricked the edge of her mind. Should I like this so much? Should I have just had an orgasm from that examination? She shifted slightly, voice uncertain. "Teddy, where are you right now?" He paused, lifting his head just enough to meet her gaze. His voice was calm, reassuring. "We had a long bath, love. Everything is perfectly clean where I am." She bit her lip, breath shaky. The reassurance helped. More than that, it allowed her to lean back into the experience, letting trust overcome hesitation. A dozen thoughts fluttered through Sierra's mind. He's right. We just had a long bath. Everything's clean. There's nothing to worry about. But part of her still battled old instincts, things she hadn't known she'd carried. Should I be letting him do this? Should I enjoy it this much? Should I have just had a second orgasm from that second examination? And yet, his voice had been so calm, so sure, when he could talk. His touch was gentle, reverent, not demanding, not rushed. He's taking care of me, she realized. Not using me, not claiming, just loving me. The thought made her eyes sting unexpectedly. How did I get so lucky? Her body trembled, not with fear, but release. Let go, she told herself. Let him love you. You're safe. And as he resumed, she finally surrendered to the experience, a soft smile curling at her lips. Dr. Teddy resumed his examination, and Sierra's quiet moans mingled with the music still playing softly in the background. When Teddy finally lifted his head and gently kissed her belly, he took a long breath. Inside, his mind was racing. She trusted me, he thought, completely. He'd known she was nervous. That flicker of worry in her voice had cut him deeper than she realized. And he'd done everything he could to stay slow, gentle, mindful, not just for her body, but for her heart. Was I good enough? Did I help her feel loved? He wasn't sure. Not yet, but when he'd answered her question, we had a long bath, love. Everything is perfectly clean where I am. And seen her visibly relax, something inside him had eased too. And hearing those soft moans now, the music threading through it all, he knew this wasn't just about pleasure. This was about healing, about trust being earned back one touch, one word, one breath at a time. I won't fail her, he promised silently. Not now, not ever. Now that she had released all of her pent-up tension, Dr. Teddy gently guided her onto her back. His touch was careful, reverent. We're not rushing this, his gaze seemed to say. He began a new examination, this time of her front side. Same general area of Sierra, but now her ventral side instead of dorsal. At first, Sierra welcomed the attention, but as Teddy's mouth and hands explored further, a wave of emotion overwhelmed her. She started to weep. Dr. Teddy paused, lifting his head to meet her tear-filled gaze. His voice was steady, soothing. Shh. It's all right, love. You deserve this. You deserve all of this. He kissed her belly gently, and since I'm not sure how many times I'll be allowed to give this particular exam, he whispered with a small smile, I'm going to finish it, right now. She nodded through her tears, and so he continued, gentle but insistent. He listened to every shift of her breath, every tremor in her voice. He moved with patience and care, refusing to be hurried. As the sensations built again, Sierra reached down, fingers tangling in his hair, not to pull him closer this time, but to pull him away. It was too much, too raw, too powerful, but he wouldn't stop, wouldn't let go. Trust me, his steady touch seemed to say, let go, again. And finally, shaking, sobbing, her hands still gripping his hair, she surrendered once more. As the last tremors faded, Sierra lay trembling beneath him, tears still slipping down her cheeks. Her fingers loosened their grip in his hair and rested gently on his shoulders. I can't believe I let go like that, she thought. I can't believe he carried me through it. A rush of warmth, love, gratitude, something deeper, filled her chest. He had asked nothing of her, expected nothing, had only given, patiently, reverently. And I fought him, she thought, tried to pull him away. And still, he wouldn't leave me. Her heart swelled. This man loves me beyond what I deserve. A quiet sob escaped, not from pain, but from joy. How did I ever think I wasn't safe with him? She drew a shaky breath, her fingers caressing the back of his head. I love you so much, Teddy. So much. Dr. Teddy then playfully tried to roll her onto her side for round 2, but Sierra gasped softly, her voice tender but firm. No, no more. Please, Teddy, no more. He paused immediately, searching her face. She gave a weak, breathless laugh. Now I know what you felt like on the first cruise. I'm sore. I hurt. Both sides hurt. He kissed her shoulder gently. Okay, Angel, no more. Whatever you want. But she caught his hand and smiled, mischief twinkling through her exhaustion. However, you can lay back down. Teddy blinked. You will get some more examinations from Dr. Sierra. She gave his chest a gentle push. Lay back, Mr. Blake. Now it's my turn, and we will have no arguments. He grinned, heartful, and complied, laying back on the pillows, watching her with shining eyes. I love this woman, he thought. More every single day. Dr. Sierra began to give Teddy his final examination, a careful, focused hand exam of his most important organ. She started gently at first, watching his face for every reaction, but then her pace increased, intentional, steady, until Teddy's breath was coming in sharp gasps. He squirmed, voice strained. Sierra, love, please, he whispered, overwhelmed. But Sierra smiled sweetly, her tone cool and playful. No, Mr. Blake, not yet. You're under doctor's care, and I am not finished. Teddy's whole body tensed, pleasure and helplessness mixing until he could no longer form words, just pleading sounds. Sierra leaned close, voice a soft purr. That should keep you going through the delivery, she whispered, as he finally gave in completely. Teddy lay there afterward, chest heaving, eyes dazed. He couldn't form a single coherent sentence. Sierra smiled proudly and leaned down to kiss his cheek. Doctor's orders, she whispered. Now rest. 2 weeks later, routine checkup, big announcement. Sierra's belly had grown noticeably in the past 2 weeks. She felt it. Tightness, new flutters, more movement than she'd expected. Am I getting too big too fast? She'd asked Teddy just days before. No, he'd said, kissing her forehead. You're perfect. Now they sat in the softly lit exam room, Teddy holding her hand as the familiar hum of the ultrasound machine filled the air. Julie Doyle, sonographer, was prepping Sierra for the ultrasound. The cool gel spread across Sierra's belly, and the probe began its search. At first, everything was routine. One heartbeat, one perfect image. Doyle's eyebrows knitted, and she looked twice, closely at the display. She stopped and picked up a microphone. Will any available OBGYN please proceed to the ultrasound suite? Repeat, any available OBGYN to the ultrasound suite. Teddy was now on edge. Anything we need to know? Sierra's heart rate and her breathing went up. Doyle shook her head no. She said, I need a doctor to confirm this. I am not certified for this on my own. The on-duty OBGYN, Dr. Kavanaugh, was there in a couple of minutes. He was sauntering in, not rushed, not hurried. Dr. Kavanaugh smiled warmly. Let's take a look, shall we? Then Dr. Kavanaugh's brow furrowed. Teddy stiffened. Is everything okay? Dr. Kavanaugh smiled quickly. Yes, don't worry. Baby is doing wonderfully. He adjusted the angle of the probe. It's just, give me one moment. Sierra's heart pounded. She squeezed Teddy's hand tighter. And then, on the screen, another flicker, another shape, another heartbeat. Dr. Kavanaugh chuckled softly. Well, that explains it. He looked at them both. Congratulations, you're having twins, Julie Doyle said. I thought so. Folks, your file says one baby. When I see two, I have to upstream it. I am not certified to tell you when I find a difference that large. Sorry if I worried you, but congratulations. By the way, if you need a name, Julie is a really cool name. Sierra's mouth fell open. What? Teddy blinked. You're kidding. Twins? Twins? Dr. Kavanaugh shook his head, smiling. No joke. They've been quite cozy, one tucked behind the other until now. But with the growth spurt this month, well, they've made themselves known. And if you need a male name, Tim is a great one. Sierra laughed, a breathless, tearful sound. Twins, oh my God, Dr. Kavanaugh pointed out. A boy and a girl. The boy's presenting first, so he'll likely be delivered first. But both are perfectly healthy. Teddy leaned down and kissed Sierra's temple. Twins, he whispered. We're going to have twins. Sierra wiped her eyes, smiling through the shock. I love you so much, Teddy. He smiled back, his own eyes damp. I love you too, and I love them already. Twins, I think I'm gonna faint. Later that afternoon, as they sat in the parking lot outside the clinic, Teddy pulled out his phone. I need to call Kevin, he said, still grinning. He's gonna want to hear this. Kevin was Teddy's best friend. They spoke regularly. Teddy had planned to update him after this appointment. Now, the news was even bigger. He hit call. The line picked up after one ring. Dr. Kevin? Teddy greeted. What you got, Tedster? Came the familiar, cheerful reply. Twins, baby. Twins. No shit, twins? Kevin whooped. I know what that's like. Congrats, Tedderosa. Teddy laughed. Thanks, Kevo. Kevin added quickly, can you guys come over this weekend? We'll drink grape juice and chew cigar gum, old school style. Teddy chuckled. Let's have you guys come over here. You have that new place, and I get lost easily. Kevin grinned through the phone. We'll be there Saturday. We'll buy dinner, if you're cheap eats. Thanks, Kevo. See you then. I gotta get back to my lovely and charming wife. You do that. And congrats again, brother. Teddy hung up, heart full, and reached for Sierra's hand once more. Chapter 6. Adjusting to Parenthood. Later, back at home. That evening, Teddy couldn't seem to help himself. He opened Sierra's car door with a little flourish, held her arm with both hands as they walked up the steps, gently cleared the way for her through the house, moving small things out of the path. Are you good? Are you all right? He asked for the third time before they'd even reached the kitchen. Sierra finally laughed, leaning on him a little. Teddy, I am fine. We still have 6 weeks. I am doing well. She kissed his cheek. Relax, Ted. Relax. Still, he followed her closely as they settled on the couch, each with a glass of sparkling red grape juice in hand. Sierra took a sip, then looked at him over the rim of her glass. Her eyes sparkled. What do you think, Daddy? Teddy stared at her, heart so full he couldn't speak for a moment. Finally, he set his glass down, reached over, and cupped her face gently. I think I'm the luckiest man alive. As she sipped her grape juice, Sierra felt her heart flutter. Twins. She still couldn't fully process it. One baby had been enough of a miracle. Now 2? A boy and a girl. 2 tiny lives growing inside her. 2 hearts she could already feel fluttering beneath her own. And Teddy, her sweet, doting Teddy. His face when Dr. Kavanaugh said twins, she would remember that forever. That mix of joy, shock, and reverence. I am so lucky, she thought, and so loved. And yet, beneath it all, a new flicker of anxiety stirred. 2 babies. 2. Could she do this? Could they do this? But one glance at Teddy's eyes, so full of wonder, and the doubts faded. We will do this, together. She leaned into him softly, a hand resting over her belly, now housing not 1 but 2 tiny miracles. I can do this, she thought, because I'm not doing it alone. Then Teddy blinked. His eyes widened a little. Hey, he said aloud, voice half laughing, half panicked. We don't have the nursery ready. Sierra smiled, watching him. He sat up straighter. What do we do? What color? How many of everything do we need? He rubbed his face with both hands. For sure, we need 2 wooden rocking chairs. That I know. Sierra giggled softly. One thing at a time, Daddy. We'll figure it out. Teddy grinned sheepishly. You're right, but I'm making a list. Teddy was still rambling about lists and paint colors when Sierra stood and stretched slowly. Teddy, she said, voice low and warm. We need a bath. Draw us a bath, baby. Teddy blinked, caught mid-thought. I'm all wound up, babe. I can't settle down. I knew it would be like this with one baby, but we have two. Two babies. Angel. Twins. Sierra walked over to him, her gray eyes soft but sure. She hugged him tightly, exactly how he liked, full-bodied, no space between them. She mussed up his hair playfully, then took his face between her hands. We can do this, she whispered. You worry too much. We are together. You, me, and the good Lord. Who can beat that? Teddy gave a shaky laugh, tension still radiating off him. Sierra smiled knowingly. Here, maybe this will help take your mind off the twins. With slow, deliberate grace, she slipped off her blouse and let it fall to the floor. Then came her bra. She reached for the back of his head and guided him down gently to her breasts. Kiss the right one, she whispered. That's the one you don't like. Right now, Mr. Blake. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Sierra. Teddy's voice was breathless, reverent. That's better. She cupped his cheek. Now draw us a bath. Right now, Theodore. Right now. You don't want me upset, do you? She asked playfully. No, madam. I will draw a bath. Teddy was already moving, heart racing. Sierra followed him quietly into the bathroom and leaned against the doorframe, watching as he began to fill the tub. But Teddy's movements were rushed, his hands trembling slightly. He was visibly shaken, shoulders tight with tension, breaths coming fast. She stepped forward softly. Teddy, come here. He hesitated, then turned to her, almost on autopilot. She wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him close. Teddy, she whispered, voice soothing. Breathe. Just breathe. She leaned back slightly, searching his eyes. Do I need to do this? She asked softly, and with that her skirt slipped to the floor, leaving her topless in her black panties, a small teasing smile on her lips. Does this help, Teddy? But Teddy shook his head, voice breaking. No, I can't calm down. I'm scared. Sierra's smile faded into deep tenderness. She turned off the water, took his hand, and guided him to sit. Perching on the closed toilet lid, she said gently, Come here, kneel. He obeyed, sinking down before her. She laid his head on her lap and stroked his hair slowly. Baby, she murmured, we are good, we're okay. We will do this. Her fingers continued their calming rhythm as she began to hum softly, then sing, Hey, have you ever tried really reaching out for the other side? Bread's Make It With You filled the small space with warmth. Then, her voice still gentle, rich with love, she began to sing You're Still the One by Shania Twain. Bit by bit, Teddy's breathing slowed. The tremor in his chest eased, though a small hitch remained. He closed his eyes, surrendering to the sound of his wife's voice, her touch, her unwavering presence. We will do this, he thought, because we are doing this together. Teddy still knelt there, head in her lap, her fingers stroking his hair, her soft singing wrapping around him like the warmest blanket. His breath had steadied, but his heart was still racing. Sierra sensed it. She smiled gently, leaned down, and whispered in his ear, Teddy, are you better now, or do I need to remove my panties too? Teddy gave a strangled little laugh. That would definitely help, she chuckled softly. Okay then. With a slow, deliberate motion, she slipped her panties down her legs and let them fall to the floor beside the tub. Straightening, she looked down at him with a teasing smile. What next? Teddy took a slow breath, eyes shining with love and awe. Sierra, I am better. I needed to panic a little, but I'm better now. Your voice calmed me down. Thank you. She kissed the top of his head, her voice warm. Good, now you better get over here and kiss and hug me. She stood gracefully, holding out her arms. Teddy rose, wrapped his arms gently around her waist, and kissed her deeply. Sierra smiled against his mouth. Then she took his hands and placed them firmly on her bare backside. Hold me, squeeze, just like that. Teddy smiled, eyes sparkling. She pulled back just enough to meet his gaze, gray eyes twinkling. Now, want to start the water up again? Yes, ma'am, Teddy whispered, his voice low with gratitude and reverence. Teddy undressed and climbed into the tub first. Still wound tight, he fussed over Sierra getting in, adjusting the towels, reaching to steady her hand, watching every move with careful eyes. She settled between his legs as always. The warmth of the water began to soothe her immediately. Sierra smiled to herself when she felt Teddy's normal reaction pressing lightly against her as her body brushed his. She shifted back just slightly, teasing him with a gentle push. Then, soft and low, she began to sing, Zac Brown Band's Free. As her voice floated through the steam, she noticed Teddy's normal reaction grow even firmer. His breathing changed, faster now, more ragged. Sierra smiled broadly and let out a comfortable sigh. Life is so good. 8.5 months. Their last OBGYN visit had been stellar. Both babies were ready. Mom was ready. Dad was scared out of his mind, but as ready as he was ever going to be. Now they were home, curled on the couch, watching a rom-com on network TV. The mood was light, a rare moment of calm. Sierra shifted. I need to go to the restroom, she said, rising slowly. But halfway to the bathroom, it happened. A sudden, unmistakable sensation, like a gentle pop deep inside, followed by a warm gush between her legs. She froze. For a moment, stunned. The fluid soaked through her clothes, pooling beneath her feet. No doubt, her water had broken. A heartbeat of mixed emotion hit her, relief that the waiting was over, and anxiety. Twins. She knew things could move fast, complications could happen. Her heart thudded in her chest. Excitement and nerves tangled together. She pressed a trembling hand to her belly, feeling the weight and flutter of 2 tiny lives. She had read about this moment, heard stories, but nothing truly prepared her for this. A brief flicker of embarrassment crossed her mind, quickly replaced by resolve. This is it. It's time. She drew a deep breath to steady herself. Teddy! Oh, Teddy! Her voice rang out, a mix of nerves and urgent excitement. In an instant, he was there. Yes, babe? Oh, holy cow. His eyes widened as he saw the scene. In the hospital, Teddy, rushing to Sierra's side. Sierra, I'm here. Are you all right? Is it too soon? Labor and delivery room. Sierra is on the bed, Teddy at her side. Monitors beep softly. A nurse, Olivia, checks the IV. Dr. Patel, the OBGYN, enters. Nurse Olivia, smilingly. Sierra, you're doing great. We're just going to check your progress. Okay? Sierra, breathing through a contraction. How much longer do you think? I feel so much pressure. That's normal, especially with twins. Let's see how you're doing. She examines. Good news, baby A is moving down nicely. Teddy, squeezing Sierra's hand. Is everything okay? Is it too soon? You're right on time, Sierra. Twin pregnancies often deliver a bit earlier, but both babies look great on the monitor. We're ready for them when they are. I'm scared. What if something goes wrong? Nurse Olivia, you're in good hands. We've got a whole team here for you and your babies. Just focus on your breathing. Teddy, you're amazing, Sierra. I'm right here, I promise. Sierra, you'd better be. I need you. Another contraction hits. Sierra grips the bed rails. Oh, this one's stronger. I think I need to push. Okay. Sierra, listen to your body. When you feel the urge, go ahead and push with the next contraction. We're ready. You're doing great, Dad. Just keep talking to her. It helps more than you know. Teddy, steadier. You've got this. Just like we practiced. Deep breaths. That's it, Sierra. Big breath in and push. Sierra bears down. Teddy counts softly. Olivia offers encouragement. The room fills with focused energy and anticipation. Sierra. Breathe, Teddy. I think I need you to be calm for me right now. ER nurse, to Sierra as she checks monitors. You're doing great, Sierra. We're going to get you upstairs to labor and delivery. Any allergies or complications we should know about? Sierra. No, nothing. Just scared. Softly, that's normal. You're strong. You've got this. Teddy to ER nurse. Is there anything I should do? Should I stay with her or stay close? She'll want you nearby. The doctors will take it from here. A labor and delivery nurse arrives with a wheelchair. Hi, Sierra. I'm Nurse Kelly. We're ready for you upstairs. Dad, you can come too. Let's go meet our babies. Teddy, taking her hand. I'm right here. I promise. Labor and delivery room. An hour has passed. The atmosphere is charged with excitement and relief. Sierra is exhausted but alert. Teddy is at her side, and the medical team is ready. The monitors beep steadily. The moment arrives. First, a baby boy is delivered, quickly followed by his sister. Dr. Patel with a wide smile holding up the baby boy. Here he is. Sierra, Teddy, your son has made his debut. He beat his sister to the finish line. Teddy, voice cracking with, he's perfect. Oh my God, Sierra, he's perfect. Nurse Olivia, as she cleans the baby and wraps him in a blanket. Strong lungs on this one. Congratulations, Mom and Dad. Moments later, Sierra pushes again. The room is filled with anticipation. Dr. Patel, one more, Sierra. Your little girl is ready to meet you. Come on, sweetheart. Don't let your brother steal all the glory. With a final push, the baby girl is born. Lifting the baby girl. And here's your daughter, right behind her brother, not to be outdone. Teddy. She's beautiful. They're both beautiful. Are they okay? Are they both okay? Nurse Oliviaing the babies on his chest. They're perfect, Sierra. Both of them. Absolutely perfect. Two healthy babies, Mom. You did an amazing job. Sierra, smiling, looking at Teddy. We did it. They're really here. Teddy, did it. You did it. They're perfect. I love you. The babies squirm and let out tiny cries, filling the room with the sounds of new life. Sierra and Teddy gaze at them, awestruck and grateful. The medical team had finished their checks. The monitors were steady. The lights were dimmed. It was just the four of them now, Sierra, Teddy, and two tiny miracles nestled against Sierra's chest. Teddy sat beside her, his hand resting gently on her arm. His eyes were red from happy tears. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They just stared in wonder at the two little faces. Sierra broke the silence first, her voice soft, reverent. They're so perfect. Teddy nodded. They are. And you. He kissed her temple. You were amazing. Sierra smiled tiredly, eyes shining. I had good coaching. They sat in silence a moment more, listening to the soft, snuffling breaths of their newborns. Then Teddy whispered, Have you thought about names? Sierra nodded. I have. If you like them. Teddy smiled. Tell me. She glanced down at her son first, her voice tender. Michael. She looked at her daughter. And Marie. Teddy blinked, heart full. Michael and Marie. He said the names slowly, letting them settle. I love them. Sierra looked at him. Are you sure? Teddy leaned down, kissed each baby softly. I'm sure. He looked into Sierra's eyes. I love you. I love them. And I love those names. Sierra exhaled a shaky breath of joy. Then, welcome to the world, Michael and Marie. Teddy's voice was thick with emotion. Welcome to the world, my beautiful babies. They sat together in the quiet room, two new parents, two new lives, wrapped in love and awe, just beginning their next chapter. Nurse Olivia smiled at the sight, Sierra holding her two babies, Teddy close beside her. She spoke gently, her voice warm. Breastfeeding twins typically begins as soon as possible after birth, often within the first hour, if everyone is stable. If there are any medical or recovery reasons for delay, we usually start expressing milk early and move to direct breastfeeding as soon as mom and babies are ready. She crouched a little closer. Sierra, Olivia continued softly, would you like to try tandem nursing? It can help get both of them used to it early. Sierra blinked, the question pulling her back to the present. She looked down at her babies, her heart swelling. Yes, she said, her voice a little uncertain. But will someone help me? I'm not ready to be holding both at once. Olivia smiled, reassuring. Of course, we'll take it slow. I'll help you position them, and Dad can assist too if you'd like. Sierra glanced at Teddy, who gave her a tender squeeze on the arm. You've got this, Angel, he said softly. I'm right here. Sierra exhaled slowly, nerves and joy blending in her chest. Okay, she whispered. Let's try. Sierra exhaled slowly, nerves and joy blending in her chest. Okay, she whispered. Let's try. Olivia nodded and washed her hands. All right, we'll start with one, then add the second once you're comfortable. She reached carefully into the bassinet and lifted Michael first. Let's bring your little guy over. Sierra shifted, her arms trembling just a little. Olivia guided her gently. Lean back just a bit. There you go. Let him find you. Michael's tiny mouth searched instinctively. When he latched, Sierra gasped softly, her breath catching. Oh my goodness. That feels different. Olivia smiled. Perfect. You're doing beautifully. Teddy leaned in, his voice low with awe. You're amazing, Sierra. Sierra looked up at him, eyes shining. Help me with Marie, of course. Olivia handed Marie to Teddy first. He stared down at his daughter, blinking fast. Hi there, little one, he whispered. He gently passed her to Sierra. Sierra adjusted her arm, with Olivia guiding again. Now bring her close. There you go. Let her find her way. A moment later, Marie latched too. Sierra let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. I'm feeding them, she whispered, voice shaking with wonder. I'm really feeding them. Teddy kissed her hair, barely able to speak. You're incredible. I love you. Tears blurred her vision again. Nurse Olivia watched with a warm smile. They're both doing wonderfully, she said softly. Just keep them close. They'll tell you when they need a break. Sierra looked down at her babies, both now nestled against her, tiny hands resting on her skin. A tear slipped down her cheek. Thank you, she whispered. Teddy leaned in, his arm around her shoulders. You're doing so good, babe, so good. Sierra turned her head slightly to meet his eyes. We are, she whispered. We're doing this together. Olivia rose quietly, sensing the intimacy of the moment. I'll give you 4 some time. If you need anything, just press the call button. She smiled again and slipped out. The room fell into a peaceful hush. The soft sound of 2 tiny suckling mouths filled the space. Teddy kissed Sierra's temple and whispered, I've never been so proud of anyone in my life. Sierra smiled through fresh tears, her voice barely a breath. I've never loved you more. They sat like that for a long time, 2 new parents, 2 new lives, wrapped in warmth, in awe, in love. Holding his daughter, Marie finished first, unlatching with a soft sigh. Nurse Olivia smiled. Okay, Dad, ready to hold your daughter? Teddy's eyes widened. Yes, absolutely. With gentle hands, Olivia lifted Marie and brought her to Teddy's waiting arms. Here, let's get you comfortable, Olivia said, helping him adjust his hold. Teddy sat back, a little nervous at first. Olivia guided him. Support her head here, chest to chest, nice and close but not too tight. Mustn't squash the kid, she added with a wink. Teddy laughed softly, tension easing. He settled Marie against his chest, one large hand supporting her back, the other cradling her tiny head. Marie squirmed once, then stilled, content in the warmth of her father's embrace. Teddy looked down, utterly awestruck. My daughter, he thought. She's so small, so perfect. A lump rose in his throat. He glanced at Sierra and whispered, She's amazing. Sierra smiled through her own tears. You both are. 5 more minutes passed in the soft, quiet room. Then Nurse Olivia smiled and gently checked on Michael. All right, she said brightly. Switch. With practiced ease, she lifted Marie from Teddy's chest and handed her back to Sierra. At the same time, Olivia scooped up Michael, who had just finished nursing, and carried him to Teddy. Here you go, Dad, Olivia said, helping him adjust again. Now it's his turn. Teddy's arms opened wide. Come here, little man. With Olivia's guidance, Michael was settled carefully against Teddy's chest. Teddy leaned back slightly, holding his son close. His heart swelled again as he looked down at the tiny bundle resting against him. This is everything, he thought. Sierra glanced over and smiled softly at the sight of Teddy bonding with their son. Marie now tucked against her own chest. Their little family was complete and just beginning. A little while later, Nurse Olivia returned as her shift was winding down. She then sniffled back a tear. This is the best part of neonatal nursing, seeing the family meet each other, and this is not an emotional tear. I've been having problems with allergies this year. That's my story. She smiled warmly at Sierra and Teddy, both still gazing in awe at their 2 tiny miracles. Sierra, Olivia said softly, I wanted to mention something before I go off shift. Sierra looked up, still tired but glowing. Yes, well, Olivia explained, our hospital has a well baby nursery. It's a place where healthy newborns can be cared for by nurses for a few hours, especially overnight. It gives parents a chance to rest and recover. She smiled gently. And please know, this is not meant to make you feel guilty or like you aren't doing enough. Quite the opposite. It's here to help you both recover from the birth experience so you can take care of your babies long term. Sierra glanced at Teddy, who gave her hand an encouraging squeeze. Sierra exhaled slowly and smiled. Yes, please, that would help. Olivia nodded. Perfect. We'll take wonderful care of them. You 2 get some rest. You've more than earned it. As the nursery staff gently gathered the twins and wheeled them to the well baby nursery, the room grew quiet. Teddy looked at Sierra, eyes heavy, shoulders sagging. Angel, do you mind if I go home and get some sleep? I can barely stay awake. I want to be fresh and ready to Dad tomorrow. Sierra reached out and took his hand. Of course, Teddy. Go home. Rest. You'll need it. Teddy leaned in and kissed her forehead, then her lips. I love you so much. I love you too, Sierra whispered. Now go rest so you can be amazing tomorrow. He squeezed her hand one last time, then left quietly, exhaustion pulling at every step. The next morning, just after sunrise, the door to Sierra's room opened quietly. Teddy entered, clean-shaven, fresh clothes, bright eyes. "Good morning, Angel," he said softly, crossing to her side. "Ready to dad." Sierra smiled up at him, heart full. "Welcome back, Daddy." Teddy had made it in just as the doctors were making rounds. Dr. Kavanaugh entered first, followed by a young pediatrician, Dr. Lynn, and Nurse Olivia, back on shift. "Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Blake," Dr. Kavanaugh greeted warmly. "I hope you got a little rest." "We did," Sierra said softly, smiling at Teddy. Dr. Lynn glanced at the chart. "Babies are doing beautifully, feeding well, vital signs are great." Dr. Kavanaugh nodded. "We'd like you to stay one more day if you're willing. First-time moms with twins sometimes appreciate the extra 24 hours. It ensures both babies are nursing and, well," he grinned, "crapping regularly. And that mom is too." Teddy laughed softly. "What about dads?" Olivia winked. "Dads? We don't care about dads. You're on your own." Everyone chuckled. Dr. Kavanaugh's tone turned a shade more serious. "One rule, since the babies were born vaginally, Dad, you must leave Mom alone to heal. 8 weeks minimum. No exceptions." Teddy's ears turned pink. "Understood. Absolutely." Dr. Kavanaugh smiled. "Now, if you're up to it, Dad, today's a great day to go pick out a twin stroller. The front and back models are more maneuverable than side-by-sides." Teddy grinned. "Consider it done." Sierra reached for his hand. "You'll do great." Teddy squeezed her fingers gently. "Anything for my 3 favorite people." The rest of the day flew by quickly. Visitors came and went, nurses checked vitals, and Sierra rested while bonding with the babies. After dinner, Teddy kissed Sierra softly. "I'm going to run out. Get the stroller and car seats. I want everything ready when you come home." Sierra smiled. "Okay, Daddy, drive safe." Teddy headed out to the store with a mission. After a small adventure through the aisles, he returned home victorious with a twin stroller and 2 matching car seats. The car seats went in first. Teddy wrestled with the bases, crawling across the van floor until they were latched perfectly. He tested them 3 times, each click reassuring. Then came the stroller. He opened the box and immediately glared at the impossible instruction sheet. "How hard can it be?" he muttered. The answer? Very hard. The stroller pinched him twice and left a nice little cut on his hand. Muttering, Teddy dug out the first aid kit, but found it empty. A trip to the corner store later, he returned with Bob the Builder Band-Aids. He grinned as he patched himself up, because why not? By midnight, the stroller finally stood ready. Teddy looked at it with weary pride, flexing his sore fingers. "Bad stroller," he muttered. The next morning, Teddy returned to maternity, fresh and smiling, sporting his Bob the Builder Band-Aids proudly. As the doctors made their rounds, Dr. Kavanaugh spotted them and smirked. "Mr. Blake, I see you've had a run-in with some dangerous equipment." Dr. Lynn grinned. "Should we prescribe antibiotics for that gushing wound?" Dr. Kavanaugh chuckled. "Or perhaps a full case of Suck It Up with a side of lemon juice?" The room laughed, and even Teddy shook his head, smiling. "Hey, it was a vicious stroller." Later that morning, Sierra sat up, beaming. "Mama is ready to go home. Bring the van around, Dad." Teddy gave a mock salute. "Yes, ma'am." He hurried out to pull the van around. As the final paperwork was processed, 2 maternity nurses, Lisa and Jen, grinned at Sierra. "We're going to escort you all downstairs," Lisa said. "And full disclosure, we needed a break anyway." On the way down, the nurses leaned in a little conspiratorially. "Okay," Lisa said, voice low. "We are going to give you the standard, totally unapproved chat. Sterilization." "Talk about it before you 2 get too carried away again," Lisa said with a wink. Sierra blinked, laughing. "Oh my," Lisa winked. "Seriously though, if you do have the choice, Mommy getting snipped is probably better. Gives you an extra week off from Daddy's, enthusiasm. And if, God forbid, anything bad ever happened between you and Dad, you'd have peace of mind that you can't get pregnant." Jen added quickly, "Not that we see that happening, but it's more secure. Also, remember that snip-snip is permanent and quite irreversible. You may hear about reverses, but don't bet your happiness on it." Sierra grinned. "Noted." Lisa laughed. "Jen and me don't normally get to go outside together. We get into too much trouble, and speaking of trouble, if anyone asks, we are not on a smoke break for the next 10 minutes. At the van, the nurses helped them settle the babies into their car seats and buckled Sierra in gently. As the doors closed, Lisa called out, "You've got a beautiful family." Now, go home and enjoy it, Jen added with a grin. And remember, don't tell our boss about the smoke break. Sierra winked. Your secret's safe with us. Evening at home, another bath. That evening at home, after the babies had nursed and were resting peacefully in their bassinets, Sierra stretched and looked at Teddy with a playful smile. Dr. Sierra is prescribing a bath for the family, she announced. Teddy blinked. A bath, she nodded. They showed me how to take a baby into the bath with me. I'll show you. Her voice softened. I know you're nervous, but we need to start. And honestly, I'm a little tense from the hospital. Teddy nodded, determined. Yes, mistress. They drew the bath carefully, warm but not too hot. The babies would come in one at a time. When the tub was ready, Sierra slipped in first, positioning herself comfortably. Teddy handed her Marie, moving slowly, breath held as Sierra settled their daughter gently against her chest. She loves it, Sierra whispered, smiling. After a few minutes, they switched. Teddy climbed into the tub and Sierra guided Michael into his arms. It was a learning curve. Teddy was cautious, deliberate. The water had cooled a little by the time the boys were in. Teddy chuckled nervously. It's tepid now, but safe, Sierra laughed softly. That's okay. You're learning. And as the moments passed, Teddy's confidence grew. His hold became more natural. His voice calmed. By the time they finished, he was beaming. You did great, Sierra whispered. See, we've got this. Teddy kissed Michael's damp head and looked at Sierra, eyes shining. We do. Later that night, after the babies were fed and asleep in their bassinets, Sierra and Teddy sat quietly on the couch, each with a cup of tea. The house was finally still. Sierra glanced at Teddy, her voice soft. Can we talk about something? Of course, he said, turning toward her. She took a breath. Sterilization. She looked down for a moment, then back up at him. We'd talked about 2 children. Now, we have 2 children. Teddy nodded slowly, listening. Sierra's voice stayed calm. I just want to know, do you want more? Do I? I think it's something we should be clear about now that they're here. Teddy rubbed the back of his neck. Honestly, I always thought 2 would be right, and now that I see them, I can't imagine wanting more. I want to give these 2 everything I have. Sierra exhaled, a small smile tugging at her lips. Me too. I want to be fully present for them. She paused. So, I'm thinking about it, about getting it done, just so we can move forward without always wondering. Teddy reached for her hand. I'll support whatever you decide, Angel. If that's what you want, we'll do it. Together. Whatever gives you peace, I support it. Sierra squeezed his hand gently. Thank you. They sat quietly, watching the soft glow of the nursery monitor across the room. Their family was here, complete, and just beginning. After a few more moments of quiet, Teddy spoke again. I was thinking, he said softly. Maybe I should call my doctor. Make an appointment. Get the snip. He gave a small smile. Sierra looked at him, heart fluttering. He's willing, but her mind circled back to what Lisa and Jen had whispered on the way out of the hospital. Their words had stayed with her. If anything happened, the security of knowing she couldn't get pregnant, that had stuck. She didn't want to just blurt it out and sound like she didn't trust him. That wasn't it. Not at all. But she needed to find a way to ask. She sipped her tea slowly, searching for the words. Finally, she spoke, voice careful. Teddy, I love that you do that for us. Truly. She reached for his hand again. But would you be okay if we talk through both options first? He tilted his head. Of course. You mean me or you? She nodded. Yes, the nurses mentioned something I hadn't thought about. If something ever happened, anything, I couldn't get pregnant. It's one more layer of security. She looked at him, eyes soft. Not because I don't trust you or us, but because life happens and I want to feel safe. Teddy listened carefully, then smiled. Angel, whatever makes you feel safest. We'll talk it through. We'll decide together. Relief washed through her. He gets it. She squeezed his hand. Thank you. This discussion stirred a memory in Teddy, something Sierra had said months ago. He hadn't wanted to bring it up during the pregnancy. She'd had enough on her mind. But now, watching how calm and clear she seemed, he thought maybe it was time. Baby, he began, his voice gentle. Back a while ago, you said something that I'd like to ask you about. Sierra looked up, curious. What is it, honey? Teddy hesitated, searching for the words. Finally, he sighed and said it plainly. At one time, you said that I wasn't as good as your ex, and that I wasn't as big as your ex. I know we've never really talked about our pasts, but I did tell you about a couple of my old girlfriends, what we'd done, how far we went. But I don't remember you mentioning an ex-boyfriend. Can you tell me about it?" Sierra blinked, her expression flickering. "I did? I mentioned an ex?" "Yes, Sierra, you did." Her voice grew soft. "I'd rather not talk about it. Not right now." Teddy nodded, respecting her space. "Just confirm, was there someone else before me?" "Yes." She met his eyes, her voice steady but sad. "Please don't make me talk about it right now. I just want to be here, with you, and the babies." She took a breath, then shifted slightly. "What do you think about me getting my tubes tied?" Teddy reached for her hand again, squeezing it gently. "I think we'll make that decision together. When you're ready, we'll talk more." The night passed quietly. Sierra was unusually quiet, reserved. Teddy noticed, but didn't press. He knew her well enough to give her space, especially after a conversation that touched on old wounds. So he watched, listened, stayed near. He held her hand while they sat, rubbed her shoulders gently, kissed her forehead. But he didn't ask again. Not yet. Instead, he let the soft sounds of the nursery monitor fill the room and let Sierra take the lead if and when she was ready. "I'll wait," he thought. "I'll always wait if she needs me to." Sierra sat quietly, her hands wrapped around her tea, eyes flicking between the dark window and the soft green glow of the nursery monitor. Her mind wasn't still. Not tonight. "I should have handled that better," she thought. "I wasn't ready to talk about him. I'm still not." She swallowed hard, blinking against the emotion rising in her throat. "Teddy's so patient, so good to me. I saw it in his face. He's trying not to push, and I love him for that." Her gaze drifted toward him, sitting close, his presence steady and grounding. But the past, it's there, she thought. "I hate that it is. I hate that I let it come between us for even a second. But I'm not ready to drag it all into the light yet. Not now. Maybe not for a long time. But I will tell him. When the time is right, when my heart is ready, I will tell him the whole him everything, because I want no shadows between us. He deserves that much and more." She let out a slow breath. "Right now, I just want to hold on to this moment. To him, to the babies. We are safe. We are loved. And that's enough for tonight." She glanced over again and caught Teddy's quiet gaze, soft, patient, waiting. "Thank you for waiting," she thought silently. "I'll tell you someday. But not yet." As the evening stretched on, Sierra found herself watching Teddy closely. He sat in the armchair by the window, Marie resting on his chest. The baby girl was cooing softly, stretching her tiny arms and legs, utterly content and safe in her father's embrace. Sierra's heart squeezed. "He's so beautiful," she thought. "He loves her so much. He loves me so much." Chapter 7. Shadows of the Past. And in that moment, the guilt surfaced again. "I shouldn't have tested the waters before we married," she thought, the old shame twisting in her stomach. "I shouldn't have waited until the bachelorette party to test those waters." Her mind drifted back, unbidden. Russ, a dancer. Too much alcohol, too many blurred lines. By the time her party had wound down, only she and Kylie, her maid of honor, were left at the bar. She remembered Russ starting to dance right in front of her, far too close. Kylie had watched, alarmed, and saw the exact moment the look in Sierra's eyes changed, from confident fiancée to curious single woman. Kylie's ears had rung when Sierra leaned in and whispered, "Go home. It's okay. Russ is taking me home." Kylie had known Russ from college, but that hadn't made it easier to watch. Now Sierra swallowed hard, blinking back tears. "I'll have to tell him someday. I will, but not tonight. Not while I'm holding this family together." She looked back at Teddy and Marie again, her voice silent in her heart. "I love you so much. Please forgive me when I'm ready to tell you." A little while later, Sierra shifted and settled into the rocker. Michael was now tucked against her chest, warm and content, his tiny hands flexing, stretching. She smiled softly as he cooed, a sweet, innocent sound. His small movements almost seemed purposeful, like he was telling her something. "I'm lucky," she thought. "So lucky that what happened before didn't change my life forever." A familiar wave of guilt rose again. If I had gotten pregnant that night, she swallowed hard. It would have ruined everything. I was reckless, stupid, and so lucky it didn't follow me home. Michael shifted again, letting out a sleepy sigh, pressing close. Sierra held him tighter, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. "I don't deserve this perfect little boy," she thought, "or this perfect family, but I will love them with everything I have." I'll be better. And one day, I'll tell Teddy everything, when I'm strong enough to face it. She kissed Michael's soft head. I love you so much, my sweet boy, she whispered, and I will always protect you. But even as she kissed Michael's head, the memory kept circling. She remembered the night. Russ had been an old flame from college, harmless, or so she'd thought. Some of the girls, half trying to be funny, half daring her, had scheduled her bachelorette party at the bar where he worked. Kylie had been furious about it. We should go, Kylie had insisted. This isn't funny, but the others had overruled her. It's harmless, they said, just a little fun. Sierra had already had a couple sex on the beach cocktails. Her thin frame couldn't handle alcohol well, and she was drunk. Too drunk. Russ had seen it. He wasn't a good guy, not really. He saw his opportunity. Kylie wouldn't leave, staying watchful, her gut twisting. She saw Sierra get into Russ's car. Worse, she saw her lean over and kiss him. A kiss that should have been reserved for Teddy. Kylie's heart had broken in that moment, but she had no power to stop it. Now, sitting in the rocker with Michael on her chest, Sierra swallowed hard again. I was so stupid, she thought. So lucky it didn't go further. So lucky I didn't bring home a permanent reminder of that night. She looked down at her perfect son and whispered again, I love you so much. I will never, ever take this life for granted. But Sierra's mind wouldn't let her go so easily. She didn't remember everything about that night, only flashes, sensations, moments that made her heart ache even now. She remembered Russ, how he had touched her, how parts of it had felt thrilling in the moment and shameful after. He pushed me to do things I hated. His friends had shown him porn that disgusted me, and he wanted to try everything. I said no. I said stop. I begged him to leave me alone. But he wouldn't, and I froze. I let it happen. Russ hadn't even walked her inside. He had left her at her door, alone with her regret. Now, holding Michael tighter against her chest, Sierra felt the old pain rising again. I can't keep this to myself forever, she thought. Teddy deserves to know what kind of man I married him after. I can't pretend it didn't happen. Her heart pounded. Tears pricked her eyes. She looked at her family, Michael in her arms, Marie sleeping soundly nearby, and Teddy sitting quietly watching her, patient as always. She couldn't hold it in anymore. Her voice shook as she spoke. Teddy, can you put the babies in their bassinets? And can you sit close? I need to tell you something. Teddy looked concerned but didn't ask. He gently settled Michael and Marie, then pulled his chair close, taking Sierra's trembling hand. She wept softly. There's something from my past, something I'm not proud of, but I can't carry it alone anymore. Teddy did as he was asked, carefully placing both babies in their bassinets. He pulled his chair close and took Sierra's hand in his. Before she could speak again, he squeezed her hand gently. Before you start, he said softly, would it help if I asked some questions first, and maybe the answers would be enough for now? Sierra nodded shakily. Yes. Teddy took a slow breath. Okay, did this happen on or after your bachelorette party? Yes, she whispered. He paused, giving her time. Did you drink before the event? Yes. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry, Teddy. Teddy's voice stayed steady. Did someone take advantage of you? Yes, Teddy. His next words came slower. Did he hurt you? Tears streamed down her cheeks. Yes, Teddy, it hurt. But what hurts more is that I did it behind your back, that I held it inside without telling you. She sobbed. Teddy, I don't deserve you. You don't deserve this. None of it. Teddy's throat tightened. He squeezed her hand again. Do you love me more than whoever did this? Oh, yes. She looked up through her tears. Teddy, I love you all the way. No one else. Teddy's voice was hoarse. I need a walk. I'll be back, but I need to think. Sierra's heart twisted. Yes, Teddy. I'll be here. Teddy stood slowly, squeezed her hand one more time, then walked out the door, leaving no sign whether he would return. Sierra wept harder, rocking slightly in the chair. Please, God, she whispered through her sobs. Please let him forgive me. Please. Teddy walked out into the night, the cool air hitting his face like a slap. Meanwhile, Teddy before her. His mind was spinning. She told me. Finally, I asked, and she told me. Just enough. But enough. He swallowed hard. His stomach was churning. It wasn't her fault, he told himself. She said no. She was drunk. She was taken advantage of. I know this. I know this. But the images wouldn't leave him. Her words echoed in his mind. I don't deserve you. You don't deserve this. He stopped under the porch light, gripping the railing, chest heaving. It wasn't her fault. I know it wasn't. But the betrayal still burned, not because of the act itself, but because she had carried it alone all this time, because some part of her still felt unworthy of him now. And I never saw it, he thought bitterly, all this time. She's been carrying that shame. Tears pricked his eyes. She's the mother of my children, my wife, my angel. And she was hurt. And then trapped inside that hurt. He wiped his face roughly. She loves me. I know she does. She told me. I saw it in her eyes. His breath came steadier now, the panic easing, the love returning, the protective instinct kicking in. She needs me. Now more than ever. I will not fail her. He drew a long breath, stood tall, and turned back toward the house. Go to her, he told himself, and love her, no matter what. He stood, letting his emotions run unchecked. He wept, long and deeply. She carried this alone all this time. Well, he was going to fix that. Right now. Teddy wiped his face, squared his shoulders, and stepped back inside. Sierra was still in the rocker, weeping softly, head bowed. Without a word, he walked straight to her, knelt beside her chair, and took her hands in his. Sierra, he said softly, please listen to me. I want to get this right. She looked at him with tear-filled eyes, her body trembling. If you need to tell me more about this event, Teddy continued, voice steady, I will listen, but I know enough now to tell you this. He looked at her directly in those beautiful gray eyes, eyes full of pain, fear, and love. I forgive you, unconditionally. You are my wife, my love, the mother of my children. You mean everything to me. You owe me no explanation, no apology. As she sobbed against him, one truth rang clear. She didn't deserve his grace, but she would rise to meet it. I'll be worthy of this man. I'll show him every day that I'm not the woman I was. He squeezed her hands. You've carried this long enough. Let go of your guilt. I forgive you, and I will forget whatever embarrasses you. You mean everything to me. I don't exist without you. He leaned back slightly, taking a deep breath. A small smile tugged at his lips. Geez, I'd like another bath with you. At that, Sierra couldn't hold back any longer. She fell into his arms and wept, deep, racking sobs of release and relief, as Teddy held her close, strong and steady. You're safe now, his arms seemed to say. You'll always be safe here. As Teddy's words washed over her, soft, steady, unconditional, Sierra's heart broke and healed all at once. He forgives me, she thought, sobbing harder against his chest. He truly forgives me. For so long, the shame had wrapped around her like a second skin. No one had seen it but her. No one had carried it but her. And now, he knows. He knows, and he still loves me. How did I get so lucky? She felt his arms around her, safe, strong, unwavering. I don't deserve this man, but I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of him. The relief was overwhelming. The fear that he might walk away was gone. He stayed. He came back, and he held me. As her sobs slowed, her mind cleared just a little. Teddy, my love, my safe place, my home. I will never lie to you again, never hold anything back again. You have given me more than forgiveness. You've given me hope. She held him tighter, as if anchoring herself to him. We will get through anything. I believe that now. As the last of Sierra's sobs faded into soft hiccups, Teddy kissed her temple gently. They stayed that way for a long time, wrapped together in the quiet, holding each other. The joy of two. Then, as the warmth of the moment settled over him, a thought surfaced in Teddy's mind. He gave a small laugh and pulled back just enough to look into Sierra's eyes. You know, he said softly, voice thick with love, our 5th anniversary is in 2 months. Sierra blinked, her heart swelling at the sudden shift, so typical of her husband, always seeing hope beyond the dark. I've been thinking, Teddy continued, a small smile playing on his lips. Let's renew our vows. Her breath caught. Really? Really, he said. I mean it, and you can change my vows if you want. He grinned teasingly. You can even add obey if you'd like. Sierra laughed through her lingering tears, her heart aching with joy. Deal, she whispered. Deal. Epilogue. Vows renewed. 2 months later, the air held that bright, golden warmth that only early summer could bring. Sierra stood at the mirror, smoothing the soft ivory dress she'd chosen. Simple, flowing, nothing like the elaborate gown from 5 years ago. This wasn't about spectacle. It was about truth, about the life they had built, about standing before Teddy and their children and choosing him again, freely, fully. A small thump sounded behind her, then a giggle. She turned to find Michael on his tummy, pushing himself forward in an enthusiastic wobble crawl. 5 months old, and already determined to explore the world. Marie, meanwhile, sat in her bouncer, chubby legs, kicking with bright-eyed excitement. Sierra scooped Michael up with a laugh and kissed his head. "You're not going to steal the show today, little man." She reached for Marie next, gathering both babies close. "You ready to watch Mommy and Daddy say, 'I do' again?" she whispered. Marie gave a delighted squeal. Michael burbled happily in reply. In the living room, Teddy waited, holding two small gold bands, a new one for her, one for himself. He looked up as she entered, and for a long moment, no words passed between them. Just a gaze shared between two souls who had walked through fire and come through whole. "You're breathtaking," Teddy said softly. Sierra smiled, eyes shimmering. "I'm yours, now and always." Teddy stepped forward, taking her hands gently. Kevin stood nearby, smiling, ready to officiate. A simple promise ceremony, nothing formal, just family, love, and the life they had built. Marie gurgled from her bouncer. Michael bounced on Kevin's hip, already reaching for Sierra's hair. Kevin cleared his throat with a warm grin. 5 years ago, you two promised each other forever. Today you stand here, stronger, wiser, and with a whole lot more love in your arms. He looked between them. "Do you still choose each other?" "I do," Teddy said softly, gaze never leaving hers. "I do," Sierra whispered, voice thick with emotion. Kevin smiled. "Then by the power vested in me as your friend, big brother figure, and newly minted babysitter," laughter rippled through the room, "I declare these vows renewed." Teddy slipped the new ring onto her finger, eyes shining. Sierra did the same, hands trembling just a little. Kevin raised a glass of sparkling white grape juice, poured fresh and chilled. "To love, forgiveness, and new beginnings." They all raised glasses, Sierra and Teddy together, arms twined, sipping as their babies cooed nearby. Later, with the twins napping, Sierra curled against Teddy on the couch, his arm draped around her. Her head rested on his chest, listening to the steady beat of the heart that had never once left her. "I'm not the woman I was," she whispered. "No," Teddy murmured, kissing her hair. "You're more." She smiled softly, eyes drifting closed, and in that quiet, wrapped in love and promise, their new forever began.